Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. Hey, you know where to find us. We're coming to you live now on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit and youtube.com/at Pride of Detroit as the offseason begins in earnest for the Detroit Lions. The Super Bowl is set for the Chiefs and the Eagles. So in place of the Detroit Lions being in a big game, we have reruns on TV. So instead, we are going to talk about coaches for another week. It's the big story of the Lions offseason. This is going to be a very, very interesting offseason. We're going to start by talking about departures and what it means for where they have landed. When we last left you, Ben Johnson had just taken the Bears coaching job, and we'll talk about some of that stuff. And we've got some interesting news on the way as far as new coaching hires. But first, I am Chris Perfett, at Chris Perfett on Twitter and Perfett on Blue Sky, coming to you as always as your adequate host and guide to a off-season trying to be mellow rather than demands. And joining me as always, the fearless, pleatherless leader himself, Jeremy Reisman, at Detroit Online on X. Hi, Jeremy. Not hashtag not natty. Jeremy's not a natty. Jeremy's roiding. He's not a natty. He's not a natty. He's got to be He's gonna be roiding up when he once goes out again for his throwback baseball league. It's not throwback to the 1800s. It's gonna be throwback to the steroid era.
I was just saying, we are not sponsored by pleather, and I'm sorry to our live audience. I realized I was muted. Fix it, chat. Relax.
Oh, geez. Okay. And as always, Ryan Matthews, the Rock God, at Ryan_POD. Hi, Ryan. Ryan also not using steroids because he's a natty.
How do you know? But thanks, Chris. Hi. Happy to see you and happy to see Jeremy, and there's so much to talk about.
There is, and I think we've had some conversations on where to really start. So we can keep this first one short on Ben Johnson before we get into the big hire away for the Detroit Lions, which was Aaron Glenn. But let's put a bow on Aaron Johnson. We talked about it last week. His news of departure had hit us right as we were hitting record to talk about the post-mortem on the Lions offseason. On the Lions season itself, and we were trying to figure out what to do. But let me ask Jeremy, because I know you hawk press conferences for these guys. Was there anything interesting in his intro press conference to your end? For me, I just heard a lot of notes that he was cribbing from Dan Campbell, which I don't think is wrong or plagiarizing. But that's just the influence of Dan Campbell, and that's fine. Influence. That's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your fform of flattery.
I don't think he was being inauthentic at any point in that, except for maybe the pandering to Bears fans when he's like, it feels good to beat Matt LaFleur twice a year. That's why I wanted to be here. That's a little pandering. That's a little heavy-handed. Maybe that's a little inauthentic. But in general, he was definitely there were some Lions fans who were upset that up until then he hadn't thanked Detroit or thanked Dan Campbell or anything like that. But he was obviously very, very complimentary of him. He shut down a weird, dumb rumor that there was friction between him and Dan Campbell, which doesn't make any sense if you pay attention to anything that's been going on for the past 4 years here. But honestly, the most interesting thing he said, and I'm a little surprised he said it, is that he called his decision to return last year emotionally charged. And the reason why that's surprising to me is maybe that's an accurate depiction of what happened. Because he probably was a little pissed off flying home from San Francisco and wanted to run it back. But he chose the Bears job 48 hours after they lost to, Washington this time around. That decision came just as quickly. How is that one not emotionally charged? Maybe a little bit.
Well, I think there's a bit of a difference when you've had that extra week to really mull on it too.
But really he didn't. It was 48 hours after they lost. He was in Chicago.
I'm just saying to take the interviews and everything, but also I really do feel like going into that last offseason, there was this assumption, Ryan, that look, if you don't take this job, if you don't take a job right now, it's going to be really hard for you to keep finding. You can't keep scorning the NFL for 3 years straight for a head coaching job. And whatever you want to think about the Bears, like that is still a very valuable franchise, and that is probably, I'm not going to say the best landing spot for him, but I did not think there was much smoke to the Raiders talk at all. So like I don't know. I'm like, cool. Like you'll get a lot of respect going to that place.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Schefter really wanted him to take a head coaching job. That much is for sure. And it was an economics lesson too, apparently. But I mean, $13 million for a first-time head coach is quite a bit of coin. So you can understand, and it was inevitable. But the last thing I kind of want to say on Ben Johnson is something that I was thinking about, and on Twitter, like all the vitriol that he faced versus how Aaron Glenn was kind of well wished out of town. That's 100% a byproduct of the Lions just losing to the Commanders, right? Like that's 100%. The
going
Lions
to the Bears
don't
too, right? Like that,
okay.
it's going to the Bears.
But here's the big picture thing that everybody's missing. You do not have to be petty to root on his downfall.
Yeah, it's the Bears. Like
you're in the division.
Why do you need more ammunition?
That's what I mean. Like, just let sleeping dogs lie. The Lions lost to the Commanders, and just I was getting DMs from Bears people that are like, "What is going on? Like, why is Lions Twitter burning Ben Johnson to the ground?" And it's like, those are all 13-year-olds with Twitter. First of all, those aren't real people. And the other thing is that, at the end of the day, it's just wins and losses. Like, they lost, so that's why everybody's upset with Ben Johnson.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can hate Ben Johnson without going full revisionist history about his time here, right? It's simple as that. Like,
it's called cope.
Let's be quite honest. Ben Johnson will probably go down, at least through now, as the best coordinator in Detroit Lions history. If I want to make that a little bit thinner, maybe offensive coordinator in Detroit Lions history. And I don't think that's hyperbole. And so I think we can look back and be like, that was awesome. Thanks, Ben. Now F off because you're a Chicago Bear. Like, that's a fine take for me. That makes sense to me.
Nah, Scott Linehan really, he really had a great playbook. I don't like, he's got it's cope. Like, but I think also, like, listen, Lions social media people, Lions fans and social media have had a rough week of it. From expectations of where they wanted to go to losing all these coaches and coordinators, to the hard ask of trying to build all of this with legitimate doubts about what this is going to be next year, while also dealing with a vast amount of expectations, because you kind of, I tried to tell people this, like, it's not a sequential order on progress on where you go. The NFL doesn't work like that. It's not baseball. It's not basketball. You don't just, all right, we were good this year, so clearly we'll go farther next year. Like, and just the playoffs are crazy, man. The playoffs are crazy. They're just crazy. What's not crazy is Aaron Glenn with the New York Jets. And I think from what we could tell, Jeremy, this was definitely where he wanted to go.
Yep.
It didn't even sound like there was many other options for him out there. Like, I know we all kind of I think some people zeroed in on the Saints a little bit, but like, I think their front office situation is toxic. And I think that it's a little overblown as far as, well, he played there. Yeah, but where he played a lot more years was with the New York Jets.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I guess I see on this rundown you had written the note, why aren't people as mad about this? And I think we just hit all those points. Is that you're going to the AFC, you're going to the Jets.
Yeah.
Like, but
well, and
I
also
think it's a fine fit.
I also think there's at least an undercurrent of Lions fans that are happy to see him go. Like, can we be honest with that? Like, the Lions defense has not been great for 3.5 seasons. The 1/2 of season was the beginning of this year before all the injuries. I don't include myself amongst that group, to be clear. I think there was nothing wrong schematically with what Aaron Glenn was doing. I think he was obviously a huge positive when it came to the culture, the buy-in, the tenacity that the Lions defense played with through all 4 of these years. Like, there was never, ever an issue of guys not willing to tackle, guys giving up on plays. This defense got its ass kicked for 3.5 seasons, and the will and desire of those players never waned, even a little bit. And that is not easy to do. When the ship is sinking, and I realize the team ship in general has been great for the past 3 years, but when the defense is just not working, like, there's bound to be a little, I won't say mutiny, but there's bound to be some people in there that start not buying in, and we never saw a sign of that in Aaron Glenn, and that's a credit to his character, to his ability to lead, to his ability to relate to players, and that's going to be missed for sure.
Yeah, I think just like, look, at the end of the day, there was a lot of times where he was placed in positions, I think, with the defensive talent that just like, look, last couple of years, he just hasn't had the personnel, especially in the DBs. Now this year he has that personnel, but it just completely sunk by an unbelievable raft of injuries. I think he's my assistant coach of the year over someone like Ben Johnson. Just on what he had to do with what little he had in that tank. But ultimately, more than that, what we know about Aaron Glenn is as a motivator, as a guy in Dan Campbell's own mold. And I think that's why it makes all the sense in the world going to a place like the New York Jets. You have a big issue to figure out with someone like Aaron Rodgers. You'll probably have him for like maybe a year if he comes back.
If that
it sounds, yeah, well, yeah, that was one of the big things. Even before the press conference about like, yeah, we're gonna try to smooth this out. Like, first thing he's probably gonna do there is talk with Aaron and try to figure out.
Really quick, I just want to add to that, because there was a story that if you just watch Aaron Glenn's press conference, you didn't catch this moment because he had a scrum with media afterwards, and they kept badgering him about Aaron Rodgers, and he goes, "Listen, you guys can ask me the same question as many times as you want. I'm going to keep giving you the same answer." And to me, like, that's, you want to take on the New York media and blast them a little bit back like that. That's perfect AG.
I don't think the New York media is as toxic as people. They're pushovers. They want someone to, like, they're some of them are jerks. Some of them go to, like, the soccer games of kids of coaches to harass people. But they're whatever. That's exactly the right way you treat them.
Example.
But yeah, well, it was a really bad example, but still, but I think what I liked about that is, like, and again, this goes back to just how cool it is going back to Lions too, Ryan, is like, Glenn talked about kind of that DNA. He talked about all the coaches he played under and everything. And a lot of that's Dan Campbell as well. Like, they're both Bill Parcells guys at the end of the day.
They are Bill Parcells guys, but they're also, I think, what's all in vogue right now, which is the culture setter. It's not like, for all of
the Jets need.
Yeah, but for all of the intrigue and everything of Ben Johnson and the next offensive mind, the thing I really like about the Aaron Glenn hire is going not just back to his playing days, but when he first got into the league and he cut his teeth with them as a pro scout, because, he went to Bill Parcells and he's like, I want to get into coaching. And Bill Parcells is like, well, this is how you do it. Like, you start as a pro scout and then you are a college area scout. And he was an intern and he was getting coffee and stuff. And he did all that stuff with the New York Jets. So there's just, I love the quote, right? Is like we're the Jets and like we're built for this shit or whatever. Like, good. Like that's who Aaron Glenn needs to be. He needs to come in and be a tone setter like that. And that's exactly who they're going to get in that guy.
Yeah, the one thing that's interesting, though, because I spent a lot of time talking to Jets fans over the last week on their Twitter space and a couple Twitter spaces, there's definitely a big divide over there between some that remember Aaron Glenn as a player and adore him and want that team to have a little bit of an edge and personality to them. The other half realizes that team hasn't had a good offense in a very, very long time, and they wanted the offensive guru hire. And I don't necessarily blame them for that, because that's a tremendous question mark about the Aaron Glenn hire, is what is he going to do offensively? And I don't have a confident answer for you. They don't have an offensive coordinator as of this recording. And to me, it's almost like the Dan Campbell hire, because my take when the Lions hired Dan Campbell was, talks a good game, but I think his coordinator hires are going to be absolutely critical to his success. And that pretty much turned out to be true.
I think ultimately what he's going to need in New York is the same thing Dan Campbell got with the Lions, which is one word, starts with P, patience.
Yep.
Like you're going not it's going to have to be built in because no matter what happens, like there's going to be a transitionary phase from Aaron Rodgers to whatever's next. And I don't know if that starts this offseason or after a year. They try to let Aaron Rodgers ride out on his own accord properly with one more shot at this. But like Aaron Glenn needs to put his stamp on it to go from an Aaron Rodgers team to an Aaron Glenn team. And that's the only way the Jets will fix that dysfunction they have right now. It's in that comes with, I thought Robert Saleh acquired some very good defensive pieces. And their defense got demonstrably worse when Saleh was shown the door. And they've spent a lot of time shipping off offensive pieces that they could have had that could have been a lot more valuable for them to get guys who play with Aaron Rodgers. It's kind of almost like, I don't want to call it a Matt Patricia situation, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Getting certain defensive guys that only fit for a specific style of football that you are no longer playing, or for the Jets no longer going to be playing once Aaron Rodgers hangs it up. Like that takes time. That takes time, and I know that New York is not patient, but I think he's the kind of guy to weather that storm. One guy he could maybe use for the offensive coordinator is apparently Mark Brunell. Could be a offensive coordinator candidate, the current Lions quarterbacks coach. How would you feel about this, Jeremy, if the Lions were to lose someone like Brunell?
That would hurt since they already lost JT Barrett, obviously, to Ben Johnson's Chicago staff.
And also Antoine Randall L, I believe, is going with Ben Johnson as well.
Yeah. We'll talk about those in a minute. But I don't know, I don't know if Brunell's even interviewed with the Jets. Like, he was just kind of thrown out there as a candidate by one of the big, it was Rappaport or Schefter, I don't know. And then, they're continuing their search through a bunch of other guys that haven't been interviewed. But to me, it almost feels inevitable that Glenn is going to take someone, right? It's just, that list of possible guys is pretty small at this point. It's not going to be Hank Fraley. We'll talk about him in a little bit. It's not going to be, maybe it's Tanner, since it seems like maybe he's not getting the offensive coordinator position. But he hasn't been interviewed yet. He hasn't been mentioned at any job this year. It's not going to be Kelvin Sheppard. It's not going to be Sean Dion Hamilton. I don't know, Deshae Townsend, maybe? He got a DC interview this year, right? But I think maybe this also plays into the why people don't like Ben Johnson and do like Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn hasn't pilfered the Lions coaching staff yet. I still think I still think he'll eventually take one guy, but to me, Brunell is the only name that I've seen even connected to the Jets, and it seems like a loose connection at this point because, one, I don't think the Lions are going to want to lose their quarterback, both of their quarterbacks coach, considering the tenuous relationship between coach and quarterback. That's very important. And two, the Jets are just who's the Rams tight ends coach / pass game coordinator? He seems like kind of the lead candidate for the Jets right now. I can't think of his name.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh God, yeah. Give me a second. I could probably let you
either
know,
way,
but...
either way, to me, it doesn't seem like Brunell's the candidate right now. Maybe things change in an instant, but Nick Caley, that's it. Yeah. So I don't know, I'm kind of chill right now with Glenn and not picking at the staff, but I'm waiting for a shoe to drop there because it seems like that's the last shoe to drop, right? There are no more coaches to be pilfered. Jobs are pretty much filled up in terms of offensive and defensive coordinator. I think there's only a couple on each side of the ball, so it would suck to lose Brunell, and I really hope that doesn't happen because that would leave the Lions scrambling a little bit for a really important coaching position. But if it happens, the Lions will figure it out.
Yeah, I think you said it best, though, with losing JT Barrett. That would be a tough pill to swallow with Brunell because it's it's the quarterback's coach, the assistant quarterback's coach. It's hey, Teddy Bridgewater, I know you don't want to coach in the NFL, but please be our quarterback's coach.
Right.
And that does.
Really quick, I know people are probably thinking Jared Goff's 30. He doesn't need a quarterback's coach, but Hendon Hooker could use one, right? Are we just giving up on that guy's development?
But I think also, even if you are 30, you do need a second voice in there. It's
yes.
Hey, I'm clearly seeing something,
second pair of eyes.
Second opinions are always appreciated. I think maybe that's kind of the angst right now is that this coaching staff is getting kind of taken down to its studs a little bit. Do you want to talk about the Ben Johnson ones, or do you think
Yeah.
we've covered them? Like,
No,
because
let's
I
talk about
also
him
want to talk about Terrell Williams too.
for
But
sure.
yeah, let's talk about Randall L and JT Barrett being taken away.
Yeah, I think the Randall L kind of one hit me a little bit by surprise, to be quite honest. Um, good for him. He's getting an assistant head coach label with his promotion to Chicago, and I don't blame him at all for taking that job. Um, it's just, to me, like, there's not that much upward mobility, I would say, in Chicago. I mean, I guess his goal is to be a head coach, and I think he's got a little bit of that it factor to potentially be that. And the Lions already have an assistant head coach in Scotty Montgomery, so maybe that's where he sees, like, well, there's maybe a little bit more room for growth there. But it's tough. Like, he's been a huge influence on Jameson Williams, no doubt about it, a father-like figure to Jameson Williams. And listen, the Lions threw a lot of resources at Jameson Williams to get him on the right track and all that. And I think he'll be okay in the long term. But I also think this team is due for another young receiver on its roster. And sure would like to have Antoine Randall L to help teach him, because he's done obviously a phenomenal job with JMO. He's obviously done a phenomenal job with Amon Ra. Not that you need to motivate that kid, but I think that's one of the more significant losses of the Lions coaching staff so far.
Yeah, that was a hashtag coming home too, though, right? Like Antoine Randall L from Illinois gets a chance to go back. And I think, like you said, Jeremy, not a lot of upward mobility, but this is just an opportunity to, you get to go work with Rome Odunze, and you get DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, if he's still around, right? So you have a great room. For JT Barrett, I think it's kind of the same thing. Like, I get to add Caleb Williams to my resume.
Sure.
I mean, there are a lot worse ways that you can go. And I think just doing that as an opportunity to kind of move yourself up the ranks for both those guys. I mean, really.
Yeah, I don't hate either of those. So where is that?
I was just gonna say, Barrett, like, that was also kind of surprising to me. Like, not from Ben Johnson's side, more so. Like, he hasn't been coaching for very long, and now he's your quarterback's coach, tasked with a very huge task of, your second year quarterback turning his entire career around. Now, obviously, Ben Johnson is going to have a bigger hand in Caleb's development than JT Barrett. But I'm just saying, like, that's a pretty huge task to. I mean, how old is JT Barrett? Is he over 30?
I
mean, their offensive coordinator is 28, so that's just an entirely, like, baby staff.
I was going to say JT Barrett is older than apparently the offensive coordinator that is reportedly going to be joining them. JT Barrett's 30. Declan Doyle would be 28. Like, we're getting a youth. Like, Ben Johnson clearly wants to lead a youth movement in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, with maybe the old gray man in the room being Dennis Allen.
But doesn't it strike you as at least a little risky for a first-time head coach to be filling his staff with a bunch of young, inexperienced guys? I mean, I guess on the offensive side of the ball, he has enough confidence that he can carry that room. But I don't know. It's interesting.
It's funny because, again, talking with my Bears guys, like it was constantly with the departure of Eberflus and Brown. It was always about, like, they just wanted to be coached, and that's key number one. And that's the question is, can these guys coach? And I don't know, maybe older guys kind of set in their ways. We understand that, like, maybe that just becomes like, okay, well, they don't want to coach as much. They're just out here to, like, hands-on coach is when I mean coach. Like, right. you know what I mean? Like, it's this idea that you're going to be in there just, like, watching tape with them. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's a very interesting philosophy that the Bears are going for. It's risky. If it works, it's great. If it's not, then it's certainly not. Can we talk about Terrell Williams? So this was kind of a surprise move, but he moves on to become the Patriots defensive coordinator under Mike Vrabel. How big of a loss is that by your assumptions, Ryan?
Well, I mean, he did wonders this year. I mean, everybody raved about him. Dan Campbell said he was, if he wasn't the best defensive line coach in all of football, he's the second best, like, high praise. Obviously, the connection with Mike Vrabel goes back to their days in Tennessee. So it also is an opportunity for him to get a promotion as well. So I think it's a loss, Jeremy, but when you consider, with the benefit of hindsight, and who the Lions were able to get to replace, Terrell Williams, I think there's reason to believe that maybe it's not going to be as big of a loss as it could have been. I think the
Yeah.
Lions were really good to hire, who we'll talk about in the second segment.
Yeah, like you guys said, the Vrabel connection kind of made this one it was bound to happen. It's no mark on the Lions organization for not being able to retain him. He's had a much longer career with Vrabel. He gets to be the defensive coordinator there. I don't know what that means under Mike Vrabel, like probably not calling plays, but you have a little bit more power. You have a little more, you have a bigger resume because of it. And yeah, definitely a big loss. I know people look at the Lions defensive line at the end of the year and be like, what are we even missing? I mean, when you take away 6 or 7 guys that you expected to contribute, like that's what you're left with. And he did a good enough job to get a full season out of Levi Onwuzurike. Josh Pascal took a small step up. Mekhi Wingo.
Muhammad.
Yeah, and Mekhi Wingo, like, I think we forget, he had kind of a really good, like, 3 or 4 game stretch before his injury, and he went to Twitter and was like, no, I don't want to lose him. Like, it's a loss. Aiden Hutchinson was on his way to Defensive Player of the Year. Let's not forget that. So it's definitely a loss. It's a bummer because I got a lot of respect for that guy, and I know the players in that room do as well. But Chris, I'll lead this back to you because I know you're excited to talk about Casey Rogers.
Casey Rogers is a name I did not expect to be available, if anything. We're talking about a guy who, for 10 years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has worked wonders down there. I believe the past 5 years they have finished top 5 in run defense in Tampa. And those are no slouches with some of their talent. I've talked the world about Vita Vea and some of the other talent they have in Tampa there. But that's that's what the Lions want to do, right? They want to control the line of scrimmage. They want to run the ball. I forgot about Kalijah Cansey and KJ. But we would talk about this all the time, Ryan, Jeremy. Like, what do Lions want to do? They want to stop the run. They want to just force you to make mistakes in the passing game. Casey Rogers fits that to a T because that's exactly his lines have always been about mulching run games and bringing pressure and bringing just tremendous amounts of pressure. And why I said I wasn't even sure he'd be available is I didn't even realize this would be an issue with his contract at all in Tampa. He had a 10-year contract with them, I believe. And I don't know what happened between him and Todd Bowles, but clearly it's not usually you don't get these kind of departures to basically what's a horizontal move. He's still the D-line coach with Detroit.
If I'm not mistaken, his contract expired with Tampa.
It did expire, but I don't think that was a hard one if Tampa was smart, that wouldn't have been a hard one to re-ink that contract or even let it expire in the first place. Just put him under an extension or something. I'm not sure where that expired out there, but either way, most Tampa people I have talked to, were not happy with the fact that Casey Rogers was even on an expiring contract, that he wasn't re-signed to the organization, that this is kind of let go from Todd Bowles. So Tampa's loss, I really believe, is Detroit's gain in this regard.
Now,
he fits what the Lions want to do on the D-line scheme to a T.
To be clear, this isn't what happened, but this is what I perceived to happen because it's funny in my head.
Ooh.
They were so busy calling Liam Cohen for 48 straight hours that they just let Casey Rogers slip out the back door. Casey's just like, are you guys just focused on one coach? All right, I'll see you guys later.
All right, I'm head out.
I've made enough jokes about Todd Bowles joining the Detroit Lions staff under Dan Campbell after the Lions beat them in the playoffs last year. And now that there's potentially going to be 2 of those guys who are coordinators on a 2017-led Todd Bowles team, I find that mildly funny. But also at the same time, this is what leads us to feel so much confidence in Dan Campbell at the end of the day is how well connected he is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's where there is a little bit of concern for me with Ben Johnson and being in Chicago. Some of the guys he hired seem like guys who are looking to find another job with a bigger tag and more money and more prestige. How we just talked about Antoine Randall and maybe even JT Barrett. These guys might not be there for long. They may be looking for an opportunity to grow and take bigger responsibilities somewhere else. I'm not saying that these are slam dunk hires, and the stuff we're going to talk about in the second segment is like Dan Campbell's like nailing everything, but it goes to show when guys like Terrell Williams leave, he can bring somebody else in from the outside in,
Sort of,
rather than just
I,
well,
he's got a
kind
history.
of.
He's got a history with him.
Well, with Casey Rogers, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's going to be important because, like, I don't know how that'll be like, 10 years from now, Ryan, as he gets further away from the league. But I mean, what was always the big question about Dan Campbell was what is he going to be? Losing all these coordinators, losing all these coaches, and one of the first things we get is him immediately replacing Terrell Williams with Casey Rogers.
Yeah, I guess
that's a good start. That's a good start.
It's a great start. Like, I guess my overarching point is like Dan Campbell is well connected. Like, he knows people, whether he has spent time playing for so long and crossing paths with so many guys. Like, that's why I have a lot of confidence in Aaron Glenn, right? He has crossed paths with lots of people.
Right. So, I mean, I just want to talk on Casey Rogers for a minute and just kind of like live in the afterglow of that hire, because you want to talk about someone with a lot of connections. How about the guy who's been coaching defensive linemen for 30 years? Like, obviously at the professional level for 20, but he was in Dallas, he was in Miami with Dan Campbell. He's a defensive coordinator for the Jets, so like you got a little bit of Kelvin Sheppard insurance there too, with a guy who has called plays before. I know Todd Bowles was kind of running the show there, but eventually he gave play calling duties to Casey Rogers. And then
to be clear, I screwed up a little bit from my notes. He basically coached with Todd Bowles for 10 years. It wasn't a 10-year contract with Tampa.
Right.
It was, but he was tied. This is a guy who was always tied to the hip with Todd Bowles, and part of the reason why Todd Bowles had a great reputation as a great defensive coach. Which is
again like weird that he's gone from Todd Bowles for what seems to be a lateral move. Like, why? Yeah. There's questions on why he wasn't retained there, but it certainly wasn't a lack of production in Tampa, because as you said, that was a top 10 running defense for pretty much all 6 years that he was there, and he's the run game coordinator there too, right? So he has that title. The run defense was fantastic. I kind of did a little breakdown on the site. That team was top 10 in sacks each of the 5 past years as well. So it's good at the run game. He's developing good pass rushers. I mean, look at some of the players he's worked with. Leroy Glover, DeMarcus Ware, Marcus Spears, Cameron Wake, Olivier Vernon, Shaquille Barrett, Vita Vea, Kalijah Kancey. Like, you want to throw Ndamukong Suh on there? Sure. He worked with Ndamukong Suh too. Really, really impressive resume. The Jets defensive coordinator time was not great statistically or really anything, but sometimes a guy's just a better position coach than a defensive coordinator. And by all accounts, pretty much everywhere he's gone, people have been happy with how he's performed outside of New York, because we just got done talking about Jets fans and New York fans and New York media. And again, he's a coordinator, not a defensive line coach there.
Well, what we're very happy with is Righteous Felon Craft Jerky and Meat Sticks, because they've been with us for a good, almost as long, not quite as long as Casey Rogers had been with Todd Bowles. But listen, man, we can keep growing this relationship, but we just ask that you don't leave us for someone else. That's all. That's all. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein. Each stick has 8 grams. If it's good enough for us, it'll be good enough for you too, because we swear by this stuff. We love this stuff. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. That's right, go Birds. They use locally sourced all-natural Black Angus beef, and they pride themselves on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. POD15 at checkout will get you 15% off your order at righteousfelon.com as you load up on all the meat snacks you're going to need for a long, furious off season. Maybe that is a new flavor we pitch them, is furious off season. What's that taste like? Teriyaki?
Anger and sadness.
Well, they do have teriyaki Balboa, which once again, Commanders fans, you should not have messed with the Rocky Balboa statue. Everyone messes with the Rocky Balboa statue. Stop messing with the goddamn Rocky Balboa statue. Why do you people keep doing this? It keeps giving energy to the Eagles. Stop messing with the Rocky Balboa statue. But do mess with teriyaki Balboa.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry, Ryan. I should have let you have that one. Soul Survivor, Foul Capone. It's all good, and it's all going right in your belly. POD15 at checkout, righteousfelon.com. When we come back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast, the pickups are very nice. And rumors on the wind. the Lions may be zeroing in on the new offensive coordinator. We'll talk about all of that next on the POD cast. Hi.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, sorry. I have my notes right here, and it said Todd Bowles 10 years, and I just, for whatever reason, in my head, turned that 10
I was like, wait a second,
contract.
a 10-year contract? That's,
yeah, you can stop.
That's got to be the best
defensive
defensive
I say
coordinator.
something like that. Please interrupt me if I turn that into something. Yeah,
I didn't know what to correct you to because I didn't know where that was coming from. All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for all the comments that the sun coming in made me look like Jerry Jones in Dallas. That was very nice of you. But the sun has now officially gone down, so we're good there.
Yeah, wait to see Johnny Morton. So first off, it is John Morton, not Johnny Morton. Johnny
Correct.
Morton is someone completely different. Johnny Morton, once upon a time, picking a fight with, was it Jay Leno, I believe?
Yeah, sure was.
And guy, and also Johnny Morton, the guy that Matt Millen called a
yes, we don't
gay
need to go
slur.
there. That's correct.
Yeah.
Man,
But
who could
Matt
ever
Millen
forget
was just voicing his frustrations. He said he had
Right.
frustrations.
that's
Of
a great way
a
to
man
do it.
deciding to go to the Kansas City Chiefs after playing for your organization? Sure, man. Like, okay.
Oh boy.
Nothing like good late night TV than a host kissing a donkey. Great stuff.
Well, speaking of Cowboys, I was looking at this 2005 Cowboys coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Hit me.
Bill Parcells, obviously.
Of course, sure.
Defensive coordinator, Mike Zimmer. Secondary coach, Todd Bowles. Wide receiver, passing game coordinator, Todd Haley. Running backs, Anthony Lynn. I'm going to save that one for a second. Sean Payton, assistant head coach, passing game coordinator. Casey Rogers, defensive line. Tony Sperano, offensive line, run game coordinator. And the best one, tight ends coach, Paul Pasqualoni.
Oh, Paul.
Is
tight
that
ends
era
coach?
Yeah.
This is the
look at that.
2005 Dallas Cowboys coaching
I was
staff.
gonna say, like, with that and Dan Campbell on the roster and everything, like, and all those guys who went through it, is that like that feels like NFL Camelot? I know they didn't win a Super Bowl, but like, God, the careers launched out of that Parcells building.
Dude.
Just my God,
Just a bunch of dudes in that building who know ball. Like that's what they do.
the most ball-knowing place on earth.
There's a reason why Aaron Glenn called Bill Parcells one of the best coaches ever, if not the best coach ever. Like, his tree is ridiculous.
Yeah, people talk about the Sean Payton tree, and what they really mean is like that's actually the Bill Parcells tree.
Right.
That's a branch off
right.
of Bill Parcells' tree.
And so is Dan Campbell, and so is Aaron Glenn. Like, they're all.
Oh,
Sorry,
sprouts.
that is former
very
Detroit
incestuous.
Lion. That is former Detroit Lion Bill Parcells too.
What did he do? I don't even remember.
Off-season and/or practice squad member early. Detroit Lions, 1964 as a player.
And then Bill Parcells, or Bill Belichick too, right?
Yes, but he was a coach, right?
Right.
He's-
Like a quality
Yeah.
assistant
Quality
or something
control.
like
Oh, you're
Maybe.
talking for the Lions? Yeah, like also what is it?
Was he special teams? I thought maybe he touched.
think
special
so, yeah.
teams at some
Who's
point.
the was it Chris? Not Chris Collinsworth. Who was the who am I thinking of? Was it Collinsworth? No wait.
I don't think so.
I thought
Collinsworth has
no,
called a couple Lions games. Is that what you're thinking?
No, he was on with the Bengals. I'm thinking of a Reich, Frank Reich.
Oh.
Frank Reich, Detroit Lion.
I wonder if Dave Phipp is super proud that he made it higher up the special teams coordinator ranks in Detroit than Bill Belichick ever did.
No shot. No shot he feels prideful like that. Like, come on. He knows who's at the top of the mountain. All right, let me get through some alerts here, and we'll chat about maybe more Lions coaching history, probably some playoff football.
Go Birds.
We're definitely not talking about any of the playoff football stuff on
Yes, we
podcast
are.
because
Not on the podcast. Yeah.
because the sense I got from Sunday is either I'm not watching or the Lions should be here. And quite frankly, I'm not interested in either of those conversations because I love football. I'm not abstaining from the Super Bowl because I don't like the teams. Nah,
That's crazy. Like,
No.
I hate that it's a rerun, but at the same time, that's crazy. Like, oh yeah, I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, listen, do you, but don't expect me to, let's boycott this because of refs.
I hated that last year too, where it's like, I mean, I got it a little bit more last year because like it's 2 weeks after losing AFC Championship, you're bitter about it. But guess what? I still watched that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch every Super Bowl that I'm conscious for.
It's football. It's the Super Bowl.
It's great.
Yeah. I'm not super excited to watch Eagles Chiefs again.
That's
like,
I understand that for sure.
Like, I'm over it.
I have no rooting interest. I want both teams to lose.
I'm not going to make it a priority to like watch it and not miss any of it. Like in ways that I maybe have before for other Super Bowls. But like,
I assumed you were throwing a party. I was going to show up.
Like, yeah, it's at the B-Dubs. I'll DM you the address. No, but like, it's not going to be like appointment television in the way that it would have been if it was like other teams.
Bills. Yeah.
Mostly just the Bills, yeah.
I'm going to echo Dave Raposo, Draw Play Dave from Blue Sky, who was reacting. I think I slacked it to you, Jeremy, the picture of Eagles fans with a whole roast pig and rice on the SEPTA bus in Philly. And he said, this is the kind of thing why I view the Eagles as an anime rival. You hate them, but you respect them at the same time. You got to admit they're cool while also wishing they were dead. And it's kind of how I feel about the Eagles. Like, I've known too many of them, and like I know the reputation of Philly is that, but like they've all been chill to me, so I don't know. I can't parse it. I just can't.
Don't try to paint them as people. Philadelphia fans are not people. I don't. Why are you running PR for the city of Philadelphia right now?
Because you know what I've realized, I'm contrarian, and I feel like by like focusing the anger squarely on the Eagles, we're giving other NFC East fan bases a pass.
Dude, I've known that for 10 years, Chris.
Being a contrarian, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. This time I mean it. I'm actually going to get to alerts.
Boo.
Ryan Rott, thank you for the follow on Twitch. No Decaf, thank you for the 27-person raid. And thank you to everyone who showed up at Chris's pre-show show.
Hey, by the way, Tiki Tuesday tomorrow.
There you go. Twitch.tv/no decaf. For that, then No Decaf resubbed for 47 months. That's 47 months of Go Birds. Blech.
You know, I have a Tommy DeVito jersey. I could very well go and get a Kelly Green jersey for like Darius Slay.
Why though? This is last year with the Eagles. Did you hear? I saw some tweet that he had talked to some reporters. Like, yeah, pretty sure this is gonna be my last year with the Eagles. Pretty sure I only got one more year in me, and it's not gonna be here. Damn. All right. What team's in need of like a corner next year?
I wonder who could use a veteran corner who has proven to be a number one guy and was ran off out of said town because he was he's sucking some man's thing.
I really not him,
but
I
didn't have to say it.
Jeez.
I did. Matt Patricia sucks.
Is Quandre Diggs going to be a free agent?
Is he going to be healthy? Did he? I feel like he lost his season again to injury.
Was he Achilles or no?
I don't know, something like that.
He had a Liz Frank fracture.
Oh, that's tough.
That's not great.
Just can we at least give him a one-day contract,
man?
Wait, I feel like
a player with an injury history. Hold on, Brad Holmes is listening.
Brad Holmes has suddenly got the laser red eyes.
Brad Holmes intensifies.
Open box discount.
I don't think I would be in favor of re-signing Slay. I mean, I love the story of it. I'd love to actually see him back in Detroit, but I'll be honest, I don't think he's playing very well right now.
I thought he had a pretty good game against the Commanders. But yeah.
Is he better than Terrion Arnold right now?
Yeah, but you don't want him playing over Terrion Arnold. curious.
Him and Terry and Arnold can share the field together.
I do think if the Lions can't get anything done with
Carlton
Davis, I would not mind someone like, say, Rasul Douglas as a pickup.
Rasul Douglas.
He's 30.
I don't even know
He's
where
30,
he's at.
yeah. Buffalo.
Buffalo. But, like, I don't know. I'd just rather get Carlton Davis back.
I'm just saying, if it can't work out, like Rasul Douglas, then you're probably getting him a lot cheaper than Davis, too.
You know who I don't want? Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah,
that trade did not work out for the Commanders. That was a pretty hefty pay for them too, right? At the deadline.
What did they end up giving up?
I think it was like a third, fourth, and a sixth or something. Like, it was kind of a lot.
That's not good team building.
Washington sent the Saints their 2025 NFL draft picks in the 3rd, 4th, and 6th round for Lattimore and a 2025 5th round.
Okay.
I think what everybody here just paid witness to was Jeremy knowing something that happened about another NFL team during the season.
That's crazy.
It's wild. That
insane.
does not happen.
Like 3rd, 4th, and 6th, and nailed it.
Yeah. To be fair to the Commanders, he is under contract for 2 more seasons if they want him, but it's at $16 million apiece. So,
but after what we just saw, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a toughie.
All right. MJ Kimball, thank you for the 51 months as 51 touchdowns for Goff. Well, they got themselves a new pass heavy offensive coordinator, so maybe. I think that's a little bit of a misnomer for we'll get to it, but Justin, 35 months subscribed to the channel. Appreciate you. McVay Rob, 26 months as things are only looking up. B-Dog, thank you for the follow. AP Rambo, 48 months. That's 4 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do math.
Yep.
I don't know why I doubted
12
myself
times
in the middle
4.
of that sentence. A quarter, 28 months says it's going to be an interesting offseason. Kind of already is. Mgo Korg, 45 months subscribed to the channel. We had so many people in the 40s. This is crazy. How long
When have we not had an interesting offseason with Dan Campbell? What has been the quiet offseason with these guys?
Probably last year, honestly. You didn't lose either your coordinators.
Yeah, but it wasn't done until the NFC Championship weekend. So, like...
Yeah, so I guess there wasn't much time between the end of that and the start of free agency and the draft. And
the draft was here.
And the draft was here. That's a good point, too.
And we went into that offseason talking a ton about the contracts that they needed to ink for Amon-Ra and for Jared Goff. And
then we just didn't get to talk about it because we got fired.
Okay.
That is true. Those extensions happened after we got fired, didn't we?
The draft happened after we got fired.
They sure did.
I did the draft show on my solo channel.
By the way, this is probably a good time to announce. As long as we're not getting fired, we plan on bringing back the off-season First Bite, where we're interviewing people for about new Lions editions. That is going to be a Pride of Detroit Direct exclusive.
Cool.
And it might start as soon as this week with some of the new coaching faces.
Well, I know that I don't have a date for it yet, but Purview will be going into an off-season mode. I don't have a name for it, and I kind of feel like I'm stepping on First Bite a little bit because I was talking with my friend Kerry Rhodes, former NFL DB, who is a big Jets guy, and I was going to have him on to talk about some Jets stuff as well. But that will be available for the main feed if that happens. But nice. A lot smaller in scope too.
Yeah.
Like I think for the off season, I'm just going to be doing kind of mini podcasts outside of our big one.
All right. Have you guys seen the Duval clip?
I have.
I have not.
And all it took was me seeing Double G's tweet about it being a kneecaps moment and me just wanting to not see it again. So I'm just going to, I'm probably going to mute.
I'm going to show it to everybody because it's funny. I think it's funny. It's not quite, comparing it to Dan Campbell, I think is wrong. I think it's more
Say
Explosions. Pew, pew,
it. Yes.
Where? I'll just pull up my own Twitter.
It's on your Twitter. I can just find it there.
Yeah, I quote tweeted it.
It's
you know
way
what a
more.
jump scare it was when I opened up X and I saw that you had changed your PFP finally.
Yeah, I had to change it once. I saw that the lines, for whatever reason, had a close up of my face.
That's what he looks like.
Duval.
Oh my god!
Like,
Duval.
The fuck is that?
Duval.
could you have put any little bit of like excitement into that Duval? Like, what is? I don't. How? I can't even express what emotions are being said like that. Like, what is the tone he's going for, and what is the tone that we're actually hearing? Either way, it's not.
Jeremy,
it's not connecting.
You need to take Dan Miller's advice and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that man is trying to crawl out of his own skin while he's saying that.
I can see it crawling out of his cheeks.
There is nobody more uncomfortable in that room than him at that moment. And the funny thing is that all the people in the chairs think that nobody is more uncomfortable than them, when it's very clear that this guy who said that his child was ill and at the doctor's, and that's why he couldn't answer his employer's phone calls.
Is that did he say that during the presser? I haven't watched the presser at all. That's the only thing I saw, which can't be a great
that came
sign.
out around the weekend, I think.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was a report or if he said that directly.
That was a Tampa Bay reporter.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which
there is something.
I don't know. That whole saga is awesome. Like,
yeah, also
fire
conveniently-
Trent Baalke, or
Yeah,
I
also
will be your
very
coach.
Yeah, and also very conveniently before and after, like we weren't actually compliant with the Rooney Rule, and now we are after your kid got sick, and now we can bring you in. Welcome to Jackson. Just what is going on?
The vibes are not good, even after they quote unquote got their guy.
They didn't get their guy. Their guy was Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson was like, "I'm not working with Trent Baalke. This is insane. This is a bad idea."
It wasn't even just they must have gone through like 5 different their guys.
Well, I think it was those two. I think it was Cohen and Ben Johnson were like the two guys that they wanted. They're like, hey, we have a franchise quarterback. Someone please help. And I like Liam Cohen as an offensive coordinator, but I'll tell you what, like, you're talking about a leader of men creepily saying Duval and then ghosting his current employer, like, bad vibes. Bad vibes. You don't win your coaching career on your, intro presser. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't think there's a correlation between winning that presser and wins and losses as a head coach, but I'm just telling you, the early vibes are bad in Jacksonville. Bad.
I feel like I swore they like tried to talk with Joe Brady or Robert Saleh too, but I could be wrong.
Well, yeah, Robert Saleh definitely. There was that initial report that Robert Saleh had landed in Jacksonville when they agreed to terms with Liam Cohen, but then it turned out our good friend Schulte was a little premature on that report.
What a shame.
That
I just realized,
RGA, that is
the
perfect emoji for how he said Duval.
I just realized the other day that Jordan Schultz is the son of Howard Schultz.
Who's Howard Schultz? Should I know who Howard Schultz is?
It's like what's I'm trying to think of what Howard Schultz is mostly known for. He's Starbucks.
Oh. Okay. So he's a Nepo baby. Sort of.
Did you get their alerts?
Yeah, no. Not even close. Emgo Korg, thank you for the 45 months subscribed to the channel. Lost Oceans, 47 months to the channel. I'm telling you, lots of 40s. Zero Slub, 14 months subscribed to the channel. Nick the Greek, 50 months subscribed, says, to celebrate my 50-month anniversary, I'm commissioning a world-class sculptor to make a life-size pure bronze statue of Jeremy Reisman standing next to Brad Galley. I saw you going off about my height to Mike Payton on Twitter. Don't think I didn't see that. I see everything.
I would participate in a GoFundMe for that.
The good thing is, if it's a life-size bronze statue of me, it probably isn't going to cost much. It's so small.
Easy, B-Rabbit. You can't diss yourself.
Our good friend Baltimore Beatdown, 30 months subscribed to the channel, says, love you guys. Heart emoji. Sorry, buddy, about your loss as well in the divisional round. You're probably
Lamar
a little
Jackson
bit more accustomed to that pain than we are, so maybe you took it better.
Welcome to Cancun on 3.
Lamar Jackson is a regular season merchant.
I need
God.
I need Baltimore.
I hate you.
I need Baltimore Beatdown to be in the chat and confirm that losing in the playoffs when you have Super Bowl expectations gets easier over time, even though I know he's going to say that's not true. Because, listen, the Lions are here to stay. They're not going to win the Super Bowl for every year from here until the end of Dan Campbell.
Why not? The Chiefs are doing it.
Nah, Chiefs are going to lose. Calling right now. I think the Chiefs
Go Birds?
No. I just think the Chiefs are going to lose. Poor JP Acosta indeed.
Well, let's finish alert so we can talk about that, because I do have some thoughts
Okay.
on the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Tom, coming in with 5 gifted subs. Tom, I'm not sure you've ever gifted subs. Certainly not a sub bundle like that unless you changed your name. Appreciate the 5 gifties. Mrs. Ruvi, probably not still here, but if you are, thank you for the 48 months. Says it's my friend Jeremy and also my friends Ryan and Chris, whom I've seen in person far fewer times.
Hell yeah.
I think
Hi.
2
Hi.
fewer times.
You said sub bundle, and now I just can't stop thinking of sub bundle Ruski.
Nope. Not going to allow it to happen.
No,
not going to allow it to happen.
Fucking slightest.
Nope. Absolutely not. Be true. Thank you for the 24 months. Says happy 2 years, my loves and Chris. Le Mans Builder, 23 months, says Lions won 15 games this year. 15. We're only going to be better for the foreseeable future. Go Loins! M. Frederick, 12 months subscribed to the channel. Drew Falcon, 24 months subscribed to the channel, says, man, I'm sick of seeing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. We'll get to that. Brett Holmes' Bulge, 15 months subscribed to the channel, says, enough about Ben Johnson. Let's talk about our new OC and LB coach. That's coming in the next segment.
Does the Bulge Army, do they have to rename quite a few of you guys now because of the departures of Ben Johnson and
yeah, what?
Aaron
Has anyone checked in on Ben Johnson's Bulge? Is he doing okay?
Yeah, Bulge. Okay, yeah. So apparently you guys just swap out masks and become new Bulges then. Okay.
Great. JT Sam, 29 months, says, did y'all see Liam Cohen's presser? Duval. Yep.
Duval.
Yep.
Duval.
Okay.
It has a lot of Kyle Mooney to it.
It kind of does. Goopek, 23 months, says Johnny Morton went down on the 2-yard line, preventing free pizza for paid attendance at the game. I do not remember that. That's hilarious. So
that sounds almost too good to be true, but I can believe it.
And then Brad in New York, 25 months subscribed to the channel, says, do we have any worries about the O staff feelings with a... Wait, do we have any worries about the O staff's feelings, like Tanner and Scotty, with a sort of outside coordinator? Let me get back to that in a second. 2 more alerts to get through. Jay Reverie, 24 months subscribed on Twitch, and Damian Smith, a £2 super chat, says, when is the Lions' next press conference? The Combine. Quick answer to that one is yes. I believe it will be. Yeah, it should be unless there's any sort of major event. The Combine is usually where we get to talk to the new coaches for the first time, so I would not expect an offensive coordinator hire press conference. I would not expect a defensive coordinator press conference. Yeah, so it's Combine at the end of February, and then we might get depending on free agency moves, we might get pressers there as well. Then at the end of March, it's the owners' meetings. We'll get Dan, Brad, and probably
Rod.
So we can ask him all the questions about ticket price increases then. And then we might get some media availabilities for some off-season workouts before then. We'll get a pre-draft presser from Brad, and that'll take us to the draft.
Are you
right.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to go back to
that.
Brad in New York's question real quick.
Well, can I just jump on there real quick on one thing? Because I was thinking about it. Are you at least happy that that Chris Spielman is not leaving the Lions?
Yeah, I didn't view that.
I thought that was a Rick Spielman thing, but sure,
right? I think you could look at the motives for that for two reasons. One, Rick is like, hey, even if you don't want this job, go interview it. It's going to be a good learning experience for you to see what that process is like.
Yeah.
Two, hey, Chris Spielman, tell us about Aaron Glenn.
I think a lot the latter, yes.
Which
I was thinking about, because I know that was a possibility and people were really we talked about it, I think.
Yeah.
Whether or not Chris Spielman could be gone and like how much that could suck.
Yeah. Now, will there be hurt feelings with Tanner Angstrand and or Scotty Montgomery for an offensive coordinator to be named from sort of outside the Lions organization? Because obviously Morton was here 2 years ago.
Mortensen.
I would say Tanner might have a legit reason to maybe be upset, because it seems like he was being kind of built as the successor there. But he's also still pretty young, right? Like, he doesn't have a ton of experience. John Morton has a ton more experience. And then with Scotty, I don't think his future is for offensive coordinator. I think there's a reason he has an assistant head coach title.
Yeah, it could be very Deuce Staley-esque, right?
He's also a passing. I didn't realize he's got the title now of passing game coordinator. Not okay. No, I know he's had the title. Let me try to rephrase that a little bit. Sorry, Rum. Passing game coordinator is still a pretty big title as far as I am aware in NFL circles. Like, if you're named the coordinator for either the passing game or the run game, that's a pretty lofty position, because it's not just the wide receivers. It's not just the wide receivers and the quarterback. It's also defending the pass as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're talking about with assistant head coach. Like, that is passing game, running game coordinator roles are very, very well coveted in the NFL.
We were just talking about that 2005 Cowboys coaching staff, and it was assistant head coach / passing game coordinator Sean Payton.
Right. Yeah, I think when people are looking to find that young, what we were saying before, that young offensive coordinator, brilliant offensive mind, pass game coordinators are very often on that short list of people to interview. I'm kind of shocked that we didn't see Tanner get a single interview this cycle. He interviewed last year for a spot. I don't remember where.
Patriots?
I was going to say New England.
Yeah.
But he did not get. He didn't get tapped for an interview at all, and that's why I think like maybe he's the poach that's lying in the grass for Aaron Glenn. Maybe not, but
or maybe he's just the guy who might be next up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Kind of curious that nobody interviewed him this cycle though, and he was interviewed last cycle.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not like the passing offense took a step back. Unless people are like, oh, I just saw what Jared Goff did in the divisional round. I don't want any part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which definitely did not happen, to be clear.
I have seen a lot of pendulums going the complete opposite way on Jared Goff, and I'm not happy about it.
I blame Ryan entirely.
Yeah.
Why are we? Why? Wait. Why?
Ryan's anti-Goff now.
I'm not anti-Goff. Stop this. Stop this. The bit is growing beyond itself.
Okay.
I'm not the one doing victory laps about saying that Jared Goff would be the reason the Lions don't win the Super Bowl.
People grieve differently, Jeremy. And when the season's over, sometimes humor gets us through things.
I use that as a defense mechanism all the time. I understand.
But Chris, what do you mean? Like, are people just jumping the shark on Goff and thinking he's
I've heard a lot of Well, even in a very quiet thing, I think the very quiet one I saw was, and this was a national guy, like that the Lions are kind of in the same position as the 2020. Sorry, my ears are frying.
Are we about to make an Alex
2020
Smith
Rams
comparison? Oh, okay.
No, it's to the Rams, where it's
Okay.
like you've got an incredible amount of talent. Like, you should be going farther than that, and you've got questions about Jared Goff holding you back.
Well,
I'm like, that's a little
knocking
much.
on wood. Todd Gurley's knees are not the same as Jahmyr Gibbs, so that's a big difference.
Well, this was like specifically that they went into that season and traded for, Matt Stafford.
In 2021, yeah. But like
Yeah,
the 2020 season, that last season with Goff, like Gurley was toast at that point.
Yeah, Goff's
Yeah.
production went way down that last year and a half in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He just completed his best statistical season of his career going back to the Rams days.
Yeah, look, it's tough, but it's like there were signs that there were some like fraying near the end of the year, but also like I think all that stuff is eminently fixable in Goff, and certainly not a reason to bail on. Like, you just had a game of bad Goff. That's all it is. I hate to say it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I say every playoffs is that we overreact to such a small sample size of postseason games, and we build these narratives around playoff quarterbacks as like, well, there's some guys that are built for the moment and some guys that aren't built for the moment, and it's all BS. All the BS that Josh Allen is getting, all the BS that Lamar Jackson is getting, it's all BS. Those guys played well enough for their teams to win pretty much every single week, and it just doesn't happen because there has to be a team that loses.
And I'll take it a step further. Like, it just is a matter of a team. Like, all you can hope for is just get into the playoffs and be healthy and on a good momentum track. Like, it's not this is the year you go to the Super Bowl. It's not a linear progression system or anything like that. As much as Lions fans now want to say, like, now is the year we have to go to the Super Bowl, or like, this is the expectation here, is like, I don't know. I don't know. Again, 31 teams don't win the Super Bowl. And it feels like when you get into the playoffs and don't win the Super Bowl, the disappointment becomes even more palpable. But like, someone's got to lose these playoff games, baby.
Yeah. And I think we're all in agreement. Jared Goff, the Lions are going to win a Super Bowl if Jared Goff plays the way he did against Washington.
No.
But if you look at the larger scope of Jared Goff in Detroit, he has maybe 3 or 4 games like that in his entire career after year 1 in Detroit.
I saw people like already ignoring that he won 2 playoff games last year.
Right.
For a franchise that hadn't won playoff games in 30 years.
There was that Athletic article. It was more about Dan Campbell, but he's like, I don't know if Dan Campbell's built for the playoffs. He's only won 1 playoff game and 2 playoff appearances, and everyone's like, no, he won 2. He's 2-2 in the postseason, which is actually not that bad.
That's actually really good.
I mean, it's not. It's just like everyone gets compared to
Sean
Patrick
McVay.
Mahomes. Like that is the standard. You have to be Patrick Mahomes to win a Super Bowl, and it's very silly because you are comparing him to an alien. You're comparing everyone to an alien.
Sean McVay's playoff record is 8-5. Like, all these guys hover around 500.
Unless you're Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Unless
Again,
you're
an alien.
Andy Reid. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, think about how long the narrative for Andy Reid was. Oh, he's just not built for it, and he can't do it.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
His entire time in Philly, can't win the big game.
Has a bad doesn't have good defenses.
Decades later, he's on the cusp of what? Is this number 4?
3. It would be, and also like no team's ever three-peated ever in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, that's the biggest storyline.
There you go. Jay-Z on YouTube. Matt LaFleur, 3-5 in the playoffs. Kevin O'Connell, 0-1.
0-3, 0-1. Yeah.
Well, he's got to be 0-2 now, right?
Yeah, he was the head coach of that Giants game that they lost, right?
Yeah, to Daniel Jones. Yeah.
0-2.
Yeah.
0-2 to Daniel Jones and Matthew Stafford, who might not be back with the Los Angeles Rams next year.
I think there's some truth. That is a big question. No, you can do that, but like that is an actual big question.
It was crazy to hear somebody say out loud, Matthew Stafford will be 37, and I was like, oh. boy.
It does feel like it's getting near the air. Like, and this was really weird. The Rams kept it really under wraps, but like, they drafted Stetson Bennett, who I believe is in rehab right now. Like they kind of, but they do need a vision of what it is going to be. Again, maybe not this next year, but soon, about what's going to happen with the Rams post Stafford, because that retirement's going to hit.
Stetson Bennett might not be the worst quarterback that we mentioned in the next hour or two.
Oh God.
Oh God. How dare you?
Granted,
You think,
that is national,
you think
that
the
is
guy
national
that I'm going to
titles.
mention, who may or may not have had a season with one of the Lions' new coaches, is
He may
better
or
than
may
Stetson
not,
Bennett?
He may or may not have played wide receiver and quarterback.
Is that true?
Oh,
Oh,
We talking
yes.
Wait, what? JT Barrett or?
no.
Nope.
We're talking about someone who we hashtagged a while ago because everyone knew he was going to be a quarterback bust, and yet he still got drafted.
When was he drafted?
Let me tell you. 2016.
Oh, we're talking about somebody different.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't know anything about what you're fucking talking about.
It was a hashtag in all caps with a watch at the end.
I know what you're talking about. And Chris knows what we're talking about.
Oh, Hackenberg.
That's right. That's right.
It took me a second. The gear is slowly turning in my head.
Hack and watch,
It's been
baby.
so long since Hack and Watch.
Who are you talking about?
Dude,
Malik?
no.
No, I was talking about a guy who played
God.
for the Lions at one
See,
point.
here's the thing. We never, unlike another quarterback, we never made imaging for Hack and Watch.
It's true.
We never did
I can't believe Hack and Watch was 9 years ago.
I know. Good Lord.
I was talking about Josh McCown.
Oh.
God.
No, I mean, same team. Jesus. Yeah.
Crazy.
Why isn't Christian Hackenberg a lead offensive coordinator candidate right now?
I don't know.
Because he, according to Wikipedia, is currently the quarterback's coach of Winslow Township High School in New Jersey, and has been for the past 5 years. Good for him.
What? Honorable.
Hackenberg?
Honorable.
Yeah.
Good for him.
The Teddy Bridgewater route. Not everyone wants to eat, sleep, and drink in an NFL facility.
Dude, I still think it's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen as a football fan. Teddy Bridgewater coached high school football all year, and then he played in a playoff game.
Wins a state championship game and leads a
Meaningful
touchdown drive.
snaps in a playoff game.
Leads a
Not just holding
touchdown
a clipboard,
drive.
Had to get into the game and have meaningful snaps.
You know what? If I am so anti-Goff, then that's where I'm starting my campaign. Teddy Bridgewater could walk off the frickin' street out of a high school campus.
He
and
didn't
step
turn the
on that
ball over.
field and lead the Detroit Lions to a touchdown.
Score a touchdown drive.
And not only that, that quarterback with some grit threw a block on that play to spring free
I mean,
Jamison Williams.
people want to say that Ben Johnson calling the Jamison Williams throw was bold, but also like throwing a reverse with your backup quarterback in there, also pretty bold. A guy who's been there a month?
Yeah, I mean, you should definitely pay a guy like $50+ million to
John
run that
Whitaker,
shit.
why do high schools have a QB coach? John, let me tell you something. High school is big business for a lot of these plays. Jersey is a very big producer of college talent. That is like for a state that doesn't have like a good school in it. And I'm sorry, Rutgers, you don't fucking count. Like Jersey produces I'm pretty sure there's quite a bit of NFL talent that's out of Jersey. Not off the top of my head, but I'm assuming, I believe the rank, it's something like, Texas, California, New Jersey, Florida, and then it's either like
New Orleans.
Yeah, Louisiana. Yeah. And then after that is probably like Georgia and Mississippi or something. Ohio used to produce a lot too, and I think it still does. But yeah,
We
The
don't talk
guy
about
I
Ohio.
the guy I coach track with is the quarterbacks coach at a high school.
Cass Tech.
Nope, but they did win a state championship this year.
Ooh.
Orchard Lake St. Mary's.
Shout out Orchard Lake.
Shout out.
Do we want to talk about the fines really quick? JMO getting fined like 24 grand and
Frankie Uwu.
Frankie
24,000.
24. That's what I said. 24 grand.
Oh yeah, 20. Sorry, I thought you said 2,400. And I was like, what?
And then Luvu like 15 grand. All those two separate ones for 15 grand. So technically, I think he was fined more. But I
don't care about the JMO one.
Did you get fined 12,000 per thrust?
Maybe. I think he was at 2.5. So I don't know if they don't count a half a thrust.
Rounds down.
I tweeted like, why is there such an imbalance of fines? And I think Eric reached out to me behind the scenes like, I think that's because he's a repeat offender, and I think that's probably right.
Yes.
I almost responded to your tweet, but saying that as a joke. I almost said priors. Like,
but I think that's probably true.
But also Luvu, I mean, I don't know if he's been fined, but he's kind of had a reputation as a kind of dirty dude. Yeah, this
I don't
is
know.
me talking with people in the NFC East, and
and did he only get fined for the one hit and not the hip drop tackle?
No, he got both. So he got fined the same amount for each, 15 whatever, for both, which ironically happened like 5 plays apart. The pick six and then the Lions' subsequent drive. That is like a picture perfect example of a hip drop tackle. Which, of course, neither of those got called on the field.
Has that been called on the field?
I don't
drops,
know.
no.
There was
like
not a single.
I've seen it maybe once this year.
Yeah.
Like it is. I think this is clearly in. We're not going to call this shit territory for the NFL or RA.
To me, it's just that is such an incredibly hard thing to see live.
Yeah.
And so if this is how they're going to enforce the hip drop tackle, I'm fine with it.
Sure, I'm fine with it too. But I also have questions about why Jalen Carter is allowed to eye rake a lineman and only get a 5-yard encroachment penalty.
Fair. Luvu was hilarious though yesterday.
Dude,
Dude.
I cannot believe that there was a referee on the television saying, if you don't cut it out, we can give him the points. And I was like, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Make him do it.
Make him do it. Because someone asked a very good question. Who gets credit for that touchdown?
Patrick Mahomes.
Where does that... He's not in the game. That's the wrong game.
Another victory for the OG.
Who do you give it? Do you give it to the center?
I don't know.
You could give it to the center.
Yeah, give it to the center.
I need it to happen in week 17 so that someone loses a fantasy football league over it.
Dude, I couldn't believe it. And obviously, I think it was Jeremy Fowler or somebody who was like, "Oh nope, I found it. It's right here in the rule book."
Yeah.
Like, for those who did not watch the game, because I know there's probably some Lions fans who are bitter about all this. But
oh, you missed out.
Yeah, you. So I don't remember the penalty that's set up, but late game, the Eagles are trying to tush push for a touchdown, and Frankie Luvu keeps trying to Troy Polamalu this shit. Like it's a fucking field. He just keeps jumping over the center. Like it must have happened 3 times.
Yeah,
I think it was after the third time was when they warned him.
Right.
Yeah,
it was 2 leaps over, and then the third one was just a normal encroachment, I think, or one was a normal encroachment in there because they're all the only way you're gonna win that snap against the tush push is you got to time it perfectly. And it honestly, it reminded me of the Lions Silverdome game where they're like, crowd, if you don't shut up, if you don't be quiet for their offense, we're gonna throw a penalty on you.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing, man. You know what? If Philadelphia would have been awarded that touchdown without anybody crossing the goal line, You know who it should have went to, Chris?
Who's that?
The chief security officer.
Big Dom. That's right.
Big Dom.
Dom is just the handler, dude. Like, he's just out there, like, he's in every camera shot after the post game.
You know what? I'd rather go to him than Nick Sirianni's incredibly still, I'm winning this game by 20 points and I still look lost as fuck face.
I don't want to talk about it, but the Lions would have put up a much better fight.
What do you mean you don't want to? You literally said in the Slack, I want to talk about this.
But you said you didn't want to talk about it.
I don't, but this isn't my podcast, it's our podcast.
It's not even ours. SB Nation owns our ass.
No.
But don't you guys agree, right? Like, I'm not trying to, this isn't cope. I'm just saying that I think the Lions' run defense is better than Washington's. And I think that Nick Sirianni is so conservative that I'm not saying the Lions would win. I honestly think that probably if they play that game 10 times, I would say the Eagles win 9 of them.
It's tough, right? Because Jalen Hurts looked like vintage 2022 Jalen Hurts out there that game.
I still don't think he, like, as far as a thrower, yeah. But I think
he would have been clean in it. But, like, yeah, I think I know what you're right. Like, if you don't let Saquon Barkley run over you for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns, like, I don't think they get that 60-yard touchdown off to start. And that's all we've ever known about the Eagles is, like, if you let them take a lead, they're going to fuck you up. And, like, I was like, wow, Washington only got a field goal after going for it on 4th down twice. I'm not sure that's going to be, enough here. And then first touch, Barkley gone.
Oh yeah, that felt like the game right there. But there were so many moments in that game where it was like the decision making and some of the inability for just the Eagles to, like, completely step on their throat. It was like, oh man, like, they're still leaving like one door open.
I would have been worried about the narrative for Jared Goff after playing in that Eagles defense. I think is my counter cope. Like,
the Lions'
Eagles
offensive line
defense
would have held up better than Washington.
Sure, but, like, it wasn't just the line that wasn't holding up. Like, they were taking away. They took away Terry McLaurin and De'Ami Brown in a way the Lions did not.
My overall thoughts.
He dumped the ball off to Zach Ertz 11 times in this game.
I mean, that's what they've been doing. Like, Zach Ertz is his buddy.
Lions
but to Ryan's
Zach
point,
Ertz, but yeah.
But to Ryan's point about the Lions' run defense being better than the Commanders, I'm not so sure that's true anymore. By the end of the season,
I don't know if they would. I think they would have handled Barkley better, but not enough to like Barkley. I think would have still gotten 100 yards.
Right,
I think
he
would
had
have
118.
Yeah, he wouldn't have had a 60-yard run, is what I'm saying.
I'm not so sure about that.
I'm sure that Detroit could have kept up with them more than Washington.
You're sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure of it.
I mean,
why go for it twice on 4th down and then just end up kicking a field goal?
Was it like 4th and lengthy though? It was like 4th and 8.
But they had converted a 4th and 5 on that drive.
Yeah, but I think they were in like no man's land at that point. So no, I get it. Like I mean, you certainly
Brady was losing his mind over it. But Brady,
yeah,
I'm finally with everyone. Good. Like, I don't want to hear Brady on broadcast anymore.
Well, guess what, baby?
Guess who's
broadcasting the Super Bowl?
Yeah. I don't know. There's too many similarities between what the Eagles do with RPOs and stuff that just give me flashbacks to Buffalo and Washington, and it's just like, I don't know if that defense could have stopped the Eagles in the condition they were at.
I don't think so either. I'm just saying I think they put up a better fight.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think that they could play 10 times and the Eagles would beat them 9.
Yeah.
But I just didn't see a way for Washington to win that game. Like, truthfully, like,
I mean, it would have been a lot closer if they didn't do exactly what the Lions did, which is turn the ball over at the dumbest times.
Sure, absolutely.
But hard to imagine them even winning just because their defense was just like the Lions' defense. They couldn't stop the Eagles worth a damn. Like,
No.
how many times the Eagles punt?
Once or twice. I mean, Washington pulled out the fake punt too.
That's right.
Like I guess that's the other thing too, is it felt like they threw the entire kitchen sink at them. It felt
Yes.
very 2021 Detroit Lions.
Yes, it did. It sure
Yes.
did. Because they knew they were in it. They knew they needed to pull out every stop to win that game. I guess with the one exception being the 4th and whatever it was on that
Opening drive.
Let's see what it was. It was actually 4th and 3. At the
To go
Eagles 16.
for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
The 4th and 5
Quinn,
was definitely in no man's land. It was at the Eagles 43. Then they went for it on 4th and 2 from the Eagles 28, and then did not go for it on 4th and 3 from the 16. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, that did feel like, hey, we are the underdog here. We're undermanned. We have to pull out all the stops if we're going to even have a chance. And I do think they would have had a chance if they just didn't fumble it in that one early drive, didn't fumble it at the end of the first half.
Turnovers kill a team in the playoffs.
and they very clearly missed Cosme.
Yeah. Yeah. Jalen Carter's been eaten.
Yeah.
Would you rather? I really feel for Buffalo today because like that was the one other story. It's like here's another cursed team in the history of the NFL. They're hope to finally get off the schneid going up against the Chiefs, and the same fucking tired eggs happens all over again. That's the point where I'm just kind of like I've got a feel for Buffalo because it feels like this is the best though they're going to ever have it, and once again it's just still not enough because you're dealing with an alien on the other side. And now that alien's having a bad year, but it doesn't matter because Steve Spagnuolo started drinking the Ecto Cooler and just bringing the fucking house.
I feel so bad for Josh Allen too. Like this dude
Oh my god,
does
dude.
everything for 17 games every single year. He puts up big plays. I mean, he had some incredible throws in that game. The first like go ahead drive in the fourth quarter that he threaded the needle on like 2 or 3 straight passes. I'm like, oh, this dude's locked in for this game.
Yeah, those throws to Mac Hollins.
Yeah,
and it's Mac Hollins.
Yes. And even like the game losing play on offense, he gave his receiver a shot at what would have been the play that we're all talking about this morning. And it should have been caught. And it would have been, yes, it was a prayer, but he did exactly what you're supposed to do during a play where you have no other options. Just throw it up and give your teammate a chance to make a play. And they probably win the football game if that ball is caught.
Unfortunately, it is the play that we're all talking about.
That's due to one person in particular.
Yeah. And the people want to pick a fight there. It just feels bad for Allen too because it's like I saw the warts of the Bills' defense coming into this game.
True.
And I'm just like, please, for the love of God, this has to be the offense that can still beat him regardless. And once again, it kind of felt like the Lions. You need a stop, you can't get a stop.
Yep. It's the reason why I picked the Chiefs in that game. It's just like that Bills defense does not seem good. And like, I'm not in the defense wins championships group, but you
stops
have to
you from losing them.
Yeah, you have to have at least an average defense, and the Bills defense is not average. It's not good. And they saw a lot of attrition too, not nearly as much as the Lions, but it was clearly not going to be good enough in that game. And I mean, it was close. I'm not gonna act like it wasn't close, but
like the Chiefs marched down the field for that field goal, and like you kept them to a field goal. I was thinking touchdown the entire time. I was thinking some bone breaker that'll like.
And plus the defense had 2 more opportunities to give the offense the ball back with 2 minutes left, and failed both times.
I know, but you know what it was to me. I thought Buffalo had them with the It was the 3-and-out that they got like at the end of the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
They held him. I think they pushed him back. I think it was like 4th and 15, and they punted, and then Buffalo turned it over on downs.
Right. They were up one with the ball.
Up one with the ball
On the Chiefs side of the field.
Beginning of the fourth quarter. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is an opportunity here.
Yes. And I don't know. I'm not currently interested in having the debate whether he got that fourth down conversion or not.
Just put a chip in it.
Yeah.
I'll
say
put
this,
a chip
like
in it.
I think they were in 3rd and short before that. Like, it should not have been that close if you're a good football team.
Dude, I hated their play calling on like 3rd and short, 4th and short.
Yes. It was not good.
Just pulling Josh back because he loves to go behind the guard. Like, they kept doing it, and it was like Kansas City knew that he loved to do it.
Yeah. And what have we been saying all year about what the Lions, part of the reason the Lions have been so successful? Situational football, end of game situations, and there is no doubt in my mind that the Chiefs were better at that last night, which is why I'm not talking about officiating at all. It was Steve Spagnuolo dialing up that ridiculous blitz that forced the crazy Josh Allen throw. It's the
Corner blitz, crazy.
It's the two conversions by that Chiefs offense where they had the perfect play call, the mesh, the wide open receivers to get those 2 first downs that they needed to end the game. And it's the failed 4th and 3rd down, 3rd and shorts that the Bills didn't convert on because of an uninspiring play call. Like, that's your ball game. That's it.
Ball game.
I did.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Last thing I want to say about the Bills game was that I was hoping that somebody did the funniest thing possible and stole Mac Hollins' clothes so that he had to walk back out of that stadium as Animal.
The Muppets, yeah. That would have been great.
I was like, somebody has the opportunity to do the funniest thing.
It's funny.
What are they trying to do with Jason Kelsey? Like, that was the entire thing I could think that entire time is like, I'm seeing Kelsey on too much shit that, like,
what did he do?
I don't know. I just
see him at
feel
all.
like he's constantly on my TV and I'm not sure why. Like, I understand they're pushing him for this late night show thing, but like, he was like interviewing someone in a tunnel and I was just kind of sitting there like, okay. When you're putting a guy on, a lot of it does come for the personality, and I get that, but I'm not sure what the angle is. Like, who is the person who is like the I need the what is the Jason Kelsey, I guess, mood? What is the Jason Kelsey mood? Is he the everyman? Is he a
Yeah,
is he like a roaring football guy? Because he hasn't done the latter since like one Monday Night Football commercial.
Is he like PC Barstool, like safe Barstool?
Maybe, but like, yeah, I guess so. That's kind of the okay. Now I remember the thing because my friend was brought this up. It's like, at least when you tune into Pat McAfee, you might hate Pat McAfee, but you at least know what he is. You identify his brand very easily, and like, it's still something that clearly has a audience that is drawn to it. But what's this Jason Kelsey brand and what's the audience?
It feels like a soft launch for ESPN to try to hopefully distance themselves from Pat McAfee and replace him with Jason Kelsey.
I guess, but who's the audience for Jason Kelsey?
I don't know. I thought you were asking the question, is Jason Kelsey going to play for the Eagles in 2 weeks?
Has anyone watched his late night show?
I haven't,
he has one, right? That I didn't. That wasn't a fever dream of mine.
Jason saying the late night ESPN show is so dumb.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, California Lions. It's not categorizing. It's audiences know what they want, and like you need to like have a specific flavor that appeals to them. Like it's. I don't know how to really describe it, but like it's if you have something that people identify, hey, what is Pat McAfee about? Well, he's a brain dead freak. He's a punter. He likes saying program, and he likes being loud on college games. But like that's enough for me to know exactly what Pat McAfee's about. I understand what he's about. I'm not sure what Kelsey's thing is.
No, it's his first year outside of playing football. Maybe he needs to figure that out himself.
But like McAfee, at the very least, like went and made his own thing up from it, and people found him for that. I'm not sure what. I don't know.
Well, they've been doing the podcast for a while too, though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
People like I enjoy the clips I see from. I don't watch Gridiron Heights. Is that what it's called? But
yeah, but
I
it
enjoy
also
the
feels
clips
like they're trying to capture something else after this Manning cast thing has kind of worn out its welcome. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I was just never really in on the Manning cast thing, though.
Me neither.
Like, and that's why they've had to go to like such great lengths to start bringing in guests, right?
And I feel like
that's the problem with me is just bringing the celebrity guests and then talking over football and then like, I don't know, they just keep trying to add to it. It's just like, I mean, I think they took a step in the right direction this year with Belichick. Like just having those three there talking ball. That's watchable. I can do that.
Oh yeah, I love the clip from when Stafford fumbled but didn't fumble the ball and
and Belichick's losing his mind.
Belichick's just like,
they're going to call it a forward pass, and I hate your offensive football.
I guess I just don't know what the audience is that for ultimately. Like, it is stuck between, like, yeah, like.
But that, yeah,
I think they don't let the boys play defense anymore.
Like, it feels like you could do this with something like Sunday Night Football, which is kind of like why I hated watching Sunday Night Football on ESPN, because they always end up talking about something that's not the game. But at the same time, like, you can't really do that with football, like, because it's such an involved game to watch.
Right. And I think you're right about the Manning cast. Like, I think the Manning cast has kind of lost its way a little bit, and because it was originally billed as like, hey, this is two guys who know football giving really interesting perspectives on football, and then it's like, okay, let's get Jason Sudeikis here to talk about his new movie and the time he wore an Eagles jersey.
I think the problem is that comes from the Mannings. They don't want to be constantly talking football on those shows.
I think you're right.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Crap.
Mm-hmm.
I think they want to be.
They want to yak.
They want to be comedians. They want to be actors. They want, no, go. There's football on. You played the game. Do that.
Yeah, like if we get a show with like
stay in
Ross
your lane
Tucker and like if we gotta get a cast with like Ross Tucker and Jeff Schwartz or something,
dude.
Like,
and lost in all of this is that Fox just has Greg Olsen sitting there.
Right.
Just Greg Olsen sitting there. It's like
you know
the guy who plays ball and likes to talk ball and does a good job of communicating.
I salute the patience of that man to get dicked the way he did out of the Fox A crew job by Tom Brady, who has just been terrible, and he hasn't said a word about it. And I think part of that is like you really can't, and B, you certainly can't when it's Tom effing Brady on the other side. Like, you cannot raise anything to the golden child, but like, God bless Greg Olsen.
Can I be completely honest? I thought the play-by-play guy yesterday was almost as bad, if not worse.
Burkhardt?
Kevin Burkhardt?
Yeah, he was bad. Like, there were just some things like the Commanders were down at least 3 scores, maybe 4 with 10 minutes left, and like they're deep in their own zone. It's 4th and 5, and he goes, "The Commanders are going for it." And I'm like, "Do you see the scoreboard? Do you see the time? What do you mean? Why are you acting like this?" And then like they get it, and then the next series it's 4th down. He's like, "Well, now you have to go for this one, don't you?" Yes. What are you talking about?
Hey, nothing has changed since Dan Quinn mistakenly did not go for it earlier in the game.
Right. Sorry for screaming in your ears, chat, but like that like weird, I don't know. When you don't understand what's happening in front of you and that's your job, it bothers me.
Job? Okay, sorry. Not to derail this. Sorry, Ryan, if you got something else, but I just realized we're on an hour and a half since we've probably last talked about football.
Okay.
Oh, no, we're talking ball still. We're just talking about the entertainment
Lions
aspect of it.
See, and I wanted to talk about Jerry Jones, but I saw a stream session an hour 40, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Buck and Aikman might be the best crew. Like,
no, they are.
We have done a full reversal.
I hate it.
I still like Tirico and Collinsworth more than anyone, but I understand why they're not everyone's cup of tea.
Now here's a guy. Now here's a guy. Now here's a guy. Now here's a guy. Now here's another guy.
Everyone has their crutches.
Dude, but Tom Brady's crutches. Yeah, you gotta love that KB. You gotta love that KB.
What about
and Troy's
Herbstreit?
crutches? Well, analytics say you go for it here.
Yeah, except Troy was like, this Mahomes stuff's ridiculous. Which, my goodness, I mean, the kind of feathers that the Schefter tweet ruffled.
What?
Yeah, Schefter had that tweet about the penalty discrepancy with
God.
the Chiefs and everything, and it's like, man,
I was telling
probably
someone
not
else,
your
like,
place, Adam. Just go back to
It's
screaming
not,
about
but it's-
Ben Johnson's financial situation.
It's not unique to the Chiefs and Mahomes.
Can
That's
we
the
watch
thing I
that
keep
again?
coming back to. We saw this all the time with Aaron Rodgers. Certain quarterbacks have figured out how to game the shit out of the rules, and there's nothing you can do. Like Rodgers' thing was always like, "Hey, you're offsides. I get a free play." Rather than waiting for the refs to do their job, I'm just going to take that as the free play. And then, him scrambling and him trying to slide and doing the things like it's the same thing. Certain quarterbacks just know how the rules work enough that they're just going to fuck them up and dare you to change them.
100%. Can I have everyone's permission to watch Adam Schefter losing his mind?
Again.
Losing his mind against fans who were surprised that Ben Johnson left this offseason. So he's speaking to exactly 3 people on Earth.
And not just speaking, screaming at them.
Screaming
Well,
at them.
Chad is denying you this permission apparently.
No.
Right now.
I don't accept
Overruled.
it. I don't overruled because to me it's the funniest thing ever. Like he is just getting he's working himself up against he's like the ultimate straw man.
He
There's
finds the weirdest things to get worked up about. Because remember, the last time I remember him that worked up, it was when he got punked over the Olivier Vernon fake tweet.
Oh God, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, the Uncle Chaps punking him as a fake.
Wow.
As a
Uncle
fake
Chaps.
Yeah.
Before there was what's the dog reporter's name? I already forgotten his name. How quickly Ricky. The Rose Uncle Chaps. We're watching it anyways. Shout out to the Pat McAfee show because I guess that's where this happened. Oh no, this is the Adam Schefter podcast. He just has someone from the Pat McAfee show on it.
Oh God! Wait, what?
Yeah, he's apparently their guest.
Okay, let me see this.
It's I love it so much.
The idea that he could have gone back to Detroit is absurd. Okay? Let me explain why. He had turned down head coaching opportunities in 2 previous years. If you turn it down in a 3rd straight year, and I don't know what he was making as a coordinator, but
2.
let's call it $3 million a year. Okay? And you're turning down the opportunity to make $11, $12, $13 million. You're bypassing $10 million a year, and you're saying no again to another head coaching cycle? How many times do you have to tell teams no before they stop calling? You can't risk 30, 40, 50 million dollars in a 3rd year and hope the Lions are that good again next year and you're that hot for a 4th straight year. The idea that he could go back to Detroit is nonsensical. It was never an option. He was going to be a head coach this year, period. And he decided to do it in Chicago.
We don't need to watch the other 45 seconds.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted. And I'm just like,
Jeremy, it's nonsensical.
okay, no one's arguing.
3 is more than 2. All right? Yeah, I have to get that. People out there don't understand. 3 is more than 2. And Ryan, when you have a chance to have 10, that's so much more than 3. All right?
It's aggressive pointing too.
This is what people don't understand. Like, you might sometimes get 11, but you might not.
Dude, I just needed him to breathe. Like
That's the thing too. Like he was almost choking himself out. Shefty, yeah, he has a point, but no one is arguing against him. He is arguing against a take that no one has. Everyone expected him to leave. Everyone.
This is a Richard Sherman who was talking about you moment.
I was just at a loss for who. I was like, I don't know who he's yelling at. Like, I don't know which people truly thought that Ben Johnson was going to stay for another year.
That take may have been out there, but I certainly didn't see much of it.
You
Hey, you
didn't
guys
see
wanna talk-
you didn't see as much of it as Adam Schefter did.
Apparently
really.
not.
That's for sure.
I kind of wonder if maybe it was the Pat McAfee guy, who maybe he just like right before that clip kicked in. Maybe the Pat McAfee guy was like, "Was there ever any chance of him returning to Lions?" And then he just loses his mind on him for no reason.
Well, yeah, because Adam's been the one for like weeks prior to that being like, they're gonna lose both their coordinators. It's happening. Like, and he was like and it's like, yeah, I think that was everybody's expectation weeks ago.
Yep. No, it's probably for for Ben Johnson for the entire year. For Aaron Glenn, probably about half of the year.
Yeah.
Like, this has been a long time coming. And like, I don't know, maybe he just reads his mentions too much. I don't know.
Anyways.
Segment 2.
Yeah, let's talk about Lions coaches that are still here. How about that? Or
Hell
newly
yeah.
here. Let's do that. Thanks for. I mean, that was about an hour and 10 minutes of non-Lions specific.
You guys
talk,
said it
so.
on the stream, but it was always a low possibility, though. Like, I'm not.
I was pretty convinced they were losing both coordinators.
Yeah,
for,
like
at least a
I at
month.
least just floated 5% chance. Like, I mean, whatever. I'm not going to be out there. I guess the difference is we're talking about people who are yelling at him about like this is like shocking that he didn't go back.
Right, which no one was saying.
Yeah, nobody is saying it is shocking he didn't return.
All right, let's do it.
My phone. Do I not have a phone here? Where's my phone? I need my watch.
Sorry, Katie.
Sorry, Katie. And apparently, I don't. Okay, let me just get a stopwatch up on my screen then.
Why does that actually look delicious, MCDC forever?
What do I need to not click on because I'm so hungry right now?
Subway.
It's a Subway Philly cheesesteak. And it said I'm celebrating the Eagles' Super Bowl appearance with an authentic.
That is very
cheesesteak.
well melted cheese. I'm not going to lie. Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit POD cast. One thing we got to bring back for the offseason is scraps. And I feel like it's going to come with this episode, considering all of the breath we talked in the break. For those who do not watch us live on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit, we have a lot of fun. It's not always Lion stuff, but we got to start putting more of this back in the podcast. What I do?
I was just gonna give people context. We did about 35 minutes in the first segment. We did an hour and 10 minutes between segments. So there's a lot of content you're missing out on.
Barely anything Lions. Mostly hating on the Manning cast and thoughts on the championship round. So that'll be coming. I think that's one of the things I do need to do more of, and I think that's going to be a weekly thing is scraps, as long as we have enough. But I think this is more than enough fallow field. Let's talk about new Lions coaches now that we talked about all the ones that have been replaced and have left. But I think the Lions, Jeremy, got a very big dub out of the gate in the retention of one Hank Fraley, who multiple teams had looked at for offensive coordinator positions. I believe Seattle was in the mix. And for a coach whose players had said, even after the divisional round loss, that they are going to bar the door and physically keep him from leaving the job, Hank Fraley is staying in Detroit. Not only is he staying in Detroit, he is getting a promotion to run game coordinator. Now, this is something that was going to show up in the scraps. Run game coordinator is a very big deal, much like passing game coordinator. These are I think too much we focus on offensive, defensive coordinators for a lot of head coaches eventually. Run game coordinator, that's a lot that goes with that, Jeremy. And it's a very big promotion for Hank Fraley. It, once again, I think solidifies him as kind of a heart to the offense as far as how this team has been built as being offensive line first. And I see on our rundown here, you wrote as the subhead, great offseason move or greatest offseason move. Could you elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there was understandable concern that he was gone. I know Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow said they weren't going to let him go, and maybe that's what ended up happening, but he had 2 interviews with the Seahawks, like a virtual and an in-person interview with the Seahawks. Really, since the Ben Johnson mania started last year or the year before, everyone kind of, there were rumblings, right, that he was going to take Hank Fraley with him to be his offensive coordinator, which made at least a little bit of sense because it wouldn't be a true offensive coordinator position, considering Ben Johnson's going to call plays, and it'd just be a way to build the title, put more responsibilities on your plate without going full offensive coordinator. But I never believed it, to be quite honest, and I'm still not sure I believe it. Even though he took those 2 interviews, Hank Fraley to me, and this is corroborated at least a little bit by some of his players, is an offensive line coach at heart, and I'm not sure he really wants to be much more than that. Now, obviously, the fact that he took those 2 interviews is evidence to the contrary, but I don't know. I think he's an offensive coordinator or an offensive line coach for life. But you're right. Like, adding the run game coordinator thing is big. And to be clear, he was already doing some of the stuff that you'd expect a run game coordinator to be. He's the one that's asking the players, hey, what's your favorite play on our call sheet? I'm going to go give it to Ben, and that's going to be part of our install this week. He's just going to have more of those responsibilities on his plate, and you want that because obviously what the offensive line does is critical to what succeeds in the run game. And so I think that's a huge win for Detroit. Definitely glad he's sticking around. Hoping this means he's sticking around for the long term, and this isn't just a kick the can down the road one more year until he decides to go offensive coordinator. But now that he's going to have the run game coordinator title on his resume, he is going to probably get more attention for offensive coordinator jobs, and we will really see where his priorities lie.
Yeah, ultimately, it's a huge retention. And I think everything you said twofold, because just the thought of him going to Chicago with Ben Johnson would have been the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Because then you're really, as Chris pointed out earlier, right, you're really tearing this thing down to the studs when it comes to the offense. You're losing Antoine Randall, you're losing your assistant quarterbacks coach. Who knows what's going to happen with Mark Brunell? But we talk about it all the time. The thing that keeps this thing going is the offensive line. And I mean, Hank Fraley is the dude for that. So it's great that he's back. Good thing.
It's a very big thing. What is another big thing is the Lions could be kind of coming close in on their new offensive coordinator. I've been hoping throughout this podcast to see any news to it, but I do know that I think Adam Schefter had the report. Am I correct, Jeremy?
Yep.
That the Lions are working to hire John Morton as offensive coordinator. Now, to Lions fans out there who might be in around the block, that's not Johnny Morton, the wide receiver from, the 1990s to the 2000s, who once told Jay Leno to kiss his ass. This is John Morton, who was the Broncos pass game coordinator. We just talked about run game coordinator, pass game coordinator as OCs, and John Morton, pass game coordinator for the Denver Broncos, seems to be the front runner right now to replace Ben Johnson. So it would be an external hire, Jeremy.
Yep.
But I mean, the numbers do not lie on where John Morton has been as far as what he's done with a lot of the quarterbacks and wide receivers, especially that final year with the Jets before he was fired. I believe it was 2017. That I remember reading a Jets blog that they seemed very odd that he was fired after the 2017 season, considering like some career highs for a lot of their wide receivers and quarterbacks. But I mean, the turnaround in Denver is impressive for a lot of people to make Bo Nix look as good as he was. So it's exciting. It's interesting. It is external, so it does feel weird that it's not like, Tanner Engstrand or someone like that.
Yeah, but it's external in air quotes.
Right. Because he was a Lions senior offensive assistant 2 years ago. and he was also
Welcome
overlapped
home.
with Dan Campbell in New Orleans. And so, I mean,
From Auburn Hills. It's a local
he's from
man.
right, exactly.
He
Went
likes
to Western
listening to
Michigan.
Bob Seger.
Hold on, we don't know that for sure, or do we know that?
Well, it feels like the Lions
Breaking
are dusting
news.
those old records off the shelf by bringing this guy back.
Hey, he is 55, which I've already seen some people complain about. They want the hot young guy. They want the 28-year-old that's in Chicago. No, this is an interesting hire. I think it's a little unexpected. Not John Morton in particular, but I think most people, myself very much included, thought this was the side of the ball they were going to go internal. I thought this was either Scotty Montgomery or Tanner Engstrand's job, and it turns out they wanted someone a little bit more veteran there. And you look at John Morton's history; he has been around like every single possible big coach you can think of, right? He was with Gruden with the Raiders. He was with John Harbaugh with the University of San Diego. He was with Sean Payton in 2 stops in Saints and the Broncos. He was with Pete Carroll. Like, we're talking about 3 current offensive NFL coaches he has been under, and then 4 if you include Dan Campbell, right? Like, he has been around the block. And what's throwing me off at least a little bit about this hire is that he's been around the passing game his entire career. Mostly been a wide receiver coach, passing game coordinator in Denver, criticized for his 1 year at offensive coordinator with the Jets for passing too much. And you're like, you want that guy for the Lions? The run, like the team that is one of the few that believes you got to run the ball a ton. But then you think like, okay, this guy's been around Harbaugh. He's been around Campbell. He's been around Sean Payton. I'm pretty sure he understands the value of running the football. And I'm not concerned about it. It's just like, it's weird optics to me.
And now he's going to be around Hank Fraley, who is the run game coordinator.
True.
Yeah, and I think this also tracks with what we've known about the Lions, about how they were conducting their offensive coordinator search, that they wanted someone who was going to, work very well with Jared Goff. Like, Jared Goff still remains, like, for whatever you feel about Jared Goff, he remains the linchpin of this offense and the biggest point of whoever they were going to bring in for the OC, because a lot of that credit of Ben Johnson was in what he did with Jared Goff. So, like, going for a guy like John Morton makes sense to me in that regard. I think the run game thing is interesting because, like, even the Ravens sometimes in past years did kind of get away from the run game quite a bit when they needed to in the playoffs, but like, they also didn't have that talent there on a lot of times for running the ball either, Ryan. So, like, it kind of necessitates that. I don't think Morton's had these kind of, I'd have to go back and look at all of them, but like certainly hasn't had. I do not remember the Jets in 2017 having a very good run game. Like, I think that was like a Bilal Powell team, if I am not mistaken.
Can we talk more about that? Because I think that's a big concern for a lot of people. He had 1 year as the Jets offensive coordinator. They ranked like 28th in points.
I wanted to play a game. Like, would you rather have the 2021 Detroit Lions offense or this Jets offense?
Ooh, let's play this.
Oh,
okay,
man.
let's go.
Wow.
Hit me with the rosters.
Yikes.
All right, so we're looking at quarterback Josh McCown.
That's
and
right.
I'm not trying to poo-poo on Josh McCown, former Detroit Lion.
How old is Josh McCown in 2017?
Oh, baby.
He was an elder.
He's 38.
Former
I'll
wide
answer that for
receiver
you.
Josh McCown.
That's right.
But also Bryce Petty.
And
Christian Hackenberg.
that's right.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
right. Hackenwatch is back.
Hackenwatch.
By the way, Christian Hackenberg, whose very existence panicked NFL coaches so much that the New York Times wrote a breathless 3,000-word article about how quarterbacks in the NFL are dying because Bryce Petty didn't know what progressions were.
Your running backs on that team, as Chris mentioned, Bilal Powell, Elijah McGuire. I mean, and
but please get to the wide receivers. Please get to the wide receivers.
Well, I can't skate right by Matt Forte, who was 3 years past his prime in Chicago.
Yep, that was his last career season in 2017.
And the wide receivers. Your
Oh my
leading
God.
wide receiver is Jermaine Kearse. Robbie Anderson. People were upset that Robbie Anderson wasn't getting the ball more, apparently. And Austin Safarian Jenkins.
Oh, hold on. You missed another Robbie in there. Robbie Chosen. Oh no, wait.
That is Robbie Anderson.
That's Anderson.
Is that the same guy?
It is. Wait, did he like stop being chosen at some?
No, he changed his name to Chosen. So, but that was back when he was Robbie Anderson, the artist formerly known as Robbie Anderson.
Never.
I would have made that same mistake, Chris. To be quite honest.
God damn it!
It's Hunter Henry all over again. But the point being, Jeremy, right, is that the cupboard wasn't really stocked,
right,
in New York for that Jets offense.
And I'm gonna steal a Nolan Bianchi tweet from the Detroit News because he highlights how you could argue that they did a great job that year with what they had because Josh McCown had a career high in passing yards and touchdowns. Bilal Powell had a career high in rushing yards and touchdowns. Robbie Chosen had a career high in touchdowns and the second most yards in his career. Jermaine Kearse, career high in receiving yards and touchdowns. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, career high in receiving yards.
Now, granted, I'm sure some of that probably comes, Ryan, by volume. But
it might have something to do with it, but
all the same, it's still a large batch of chicken salad being made out of the other thing.
I mean, now, I think maybe I have some confidence that he would turn even. No, go ahead. Never mind.
The things that are a legitimate concern from that era are some of the reports that came out after that season, right? There were reports saying he clashed with coaches, he clashed with players, he didn't adjust on the fly, he threw the ball too much. Now, I think some of that is just natural PR spin. Like the Jets are we know how the Jets organization is run. They probably threw some crap out there to make it look like a smart firing. And then there are other stuff that I'm not bothered about too, which is the clashing with coaches, the clashing with players, because Dan Campbell has now worked for him twice. And he's also worked with one of Dan Campbell's biggest, idols or mentors in Sean Payton. And I kind of like that Dan Campbell and Sean Payton are kind of doing the like, no, he's mine. No, he's yours. No, he's mine. Like Sean Payton takes him from the Lions in 2022 and 2023. And now Dan Campbell's pulling him back. Listen, there's naturally going to be some concern here, right? He's had the defensive coordinator position twice in his career, and he was fired or left after one season both times, the other time being at USC. Neither of those years went particularly well. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I think it's fair to say he's being given a better hand this time around. He's going to be around coaches that already know him from 2 years ago. And that's down the line, right? It's not just Dan Campbell. He'll be working with Tanner Engstrand for the second time. He'll be working hopefully with Mark Brunell for the same time. Like, I'm not worried about the chemistry. I'm not worried about an ego. But I think play calling, that's a legitimate concern. Maybe he hasn't excelled at that before. I think there's a legitimate concern about in-game adjustments. We don't know if he's been particularly good at that, but Bo Nix had a hell of a year as the pass game coordinator, so that came as a pretty big surprise to me, and I imagine he deserves a lot of that credit.
Yeah. Let's move to the defense side of things and talk about one that we do know for certain, because again, we still have to wait and see. Maybe by the time you're listening to this podcast, this is all nailed down with John Morton, or they've, it sounds like he's the shoe-in right now, but still need the final word. What we do know for certain is the Lions did promote internally for the defensive side of the ball, and that is Kelvin Sheppard moving on up to defensive coordinator to take the place of Aaron Glenn. The linebackers coach becomes the man to run the whole show. And I think it's, for a lot of people, it's very much seen as appropriate. It's been a time coming. I know he was a bit of a star on Hard Knocks. And I think this makes all the sense in the world, Jeremy. I think there's some questions about what it'll be different versus Aaron Glenn. And I'm sure that, there's been plenty of people who had some concerns about how the team was playing defense near the end of the year. But, I don't know. What's your concern level right now on this? Or do you think this is great?
Well, I love Shep. From the minute he took the podium for the first time as a linebackers coach, it became clear to me that he was special. It became clear to me that he has a trajectory. He could be on a trajectory to eventually be a head coach in this league. And I I think the linebacker play over the last 3 years has kind of spoken for itself, starting with Malcolm Rodriguez and his incredible rookie season, to Alex Anzalone's career turnaround, to Jack Campbell being a really strong player in year 2, and Derek Barnes too. Let's not forget the journey that Derek Barnes has been on, and I would say largely because of Kelvin Sheppard. My only concern is inexperience, period. I mean, the guy has only been an NFL coach since 2021. This is a pretty huge meteoric rise for the man. And so he's running the ship now. And that's a big responsibility. Now, it helps that Aaron Glenn has gone out his way and say, yeah, I've been mentoring the kid and he's almost ready for the defensive coordinator position. If not, he is ready. That gives me some belief that he's going to be fine. But there is a leap of faith that's happening here. And I can't sit back and tell you he's going to be an awesome play caller. I don't know. It's an interesting choice, again, because, again, my gut feeling going into this whole process was it was going to be an internal hire on offense because they have a lot of experienced dudes there, and an external one on defense. And I would have felt maybe a little bit more comfortable if they had gotten Dennis Allen as their defensive coordinator. He obviously went to Chicago instead. I don't know if the Lions were interested or not, but that seemed like a natural,
would have been fine if they had gone toward, like, I know they had interviewed Larry Foote as well.
Yeah.
That was the other big name.
Yeah, I mean, Larry Foote's got a little bit more experience. I don't know if the schematic fit was as neat as obviously going internally or going Dennis Allen, but I will say, like, there was a little bit me that was more excited about a Larry Foote, about bringing some fresh eyes into the defense. But I'm not also of the belief that, like, they need to overhaul everything they were doing on defense. They were terrible. Like, I don't believe in that. I think Aaron Glenn had them on the right track. The injuries just were what they were. So I don't know. I overall am happy for Shep. I think he's got a really good chance to succeed and maybe even parlay this to a head coaching job someday. But it's early in that guy's coaching career, so there should naturally be a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of curiosity, and maybe even a little bit of doubt that he can do it this early in his career.
I think that is true. However, I want to say that if we didn't, we probably should have. I feel like we probably did have some reservations about Ben Johnson.
Sure.
When in 2019 he was offensive quality control. In 2020 he was a tight ends coach. In 2021 he was a tight ends coach, and then all of a sudden he's calling plays. I know for a fact that we had reservations about, like, what's he going to be like as a play caller.
Right.
Like, this is a big ask. Like, the offense is the most important part of this defense, or this team, and this is the way that this team can start winning football games. We know that they can do it offensively. And, I mean, he made it happen. I'm not saying that Kelvin Sheppard's going to be the same way. I'm just saying that if the cause for concern is, well, it's like a meteoric rise and he's never called plays before, I kind of feel like Dan Campbell's going to make the right hire here. Like, yeah. But by the same token that, like, we can also say, well, if John Morton's the guy on offense, but he's not going to rush Tanner Angstrom to be the offensive coordinator, or he's not going to push a guy before he's ready necessarily. And I think, Jeremy, the thing that sold me on it was the way that Aaron Glenn talked about him.
Yeah.
Right. And if you have Aaron Glenn saying, like, this guy is, like, if he's not ready right now, he's about as close to ready as he's going to get before he takes my job, is right. How I kind of read that. Right. And I don't know. I feel good about this hire. I know it kind of left people, Chris. I know it kind of left people, like, whelmed. Right. I think they wanted a Dennis Allen, or they wanted the Lions to be in on Robert Saleh, or they wanted, yes.
I hate to say it, but, like, I think part of the way you have long time sustained success is sometimes there's going to be some growing pains with some of this stuff too. Like, there's probably going to be some growing pains early year with Kelvin Sheppard as he's adjusting to the role. He will have, like, versus Ben Johnson, he will have, like, an entire year, an entire offseason out of the gate to come in and be the offensive coordinator, whereas Ben Johnson kind of got shoved in there middle of the season after Anthony Lynn was gone. Like, there's a lot of prep he can do, but, like, I mean, I'm willing to give him the time because of all these other people who've signed off on this. Like, I'm willing to give him the time to see what he will be, and I have a lot more confidence, I guess, in him, just because, like, I also too, like, the linebackers quietly for the Lions when they've been healthy have been, like, I mean, he's been working with Anzalone out there. He's been working with Campbell. Like, I feel like where this team is predicated on and how it deals with coverage and how it deals with pressure. Like, I would like it to come from a guy who's been coaching the linebackers.
Yeah, but like Jeremy said, look what he did with Derek Barnes. Look what he did with
Yeah.
Malcolm Rodriguez, right?
Yeah.
Like, look, I mean, James Houston for a hot minute.
Right. Right.
Technically a linebacker, yeah.
And if you're going to promote a positional coach to defensive coordinator, I'm not sure there's a better position to do that than linebacker, which requires knowledge of the entire defense from front to back. And that's why I think they targeted Kelvin Sheppard as a guy that could eventually take over this job, not just because I think he's a fantastic leader and teacher and, has that same gene in him that Aaron Glenn does that is going to get people to follow him. It's because he has a supreme knowledge of what they've been doing on defense. And what has Dan Campbell been saying about this entire coaching search on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball? We're not going to change philosophically. We want to kind of do what we've been doing. And if that's what the guidelines are, then Kelvin Sheppard's your guy. It's just, to me, like, it's just the meteoric rise thing. Because even with Ben Johnson, like, he had a decade of experience working his way up the ranks before he got to Detroit. Kelvin Sheppard didn't have that. Kelvin Sheppard is new.
Kelvin Sheppard just played ball.
Yeah. Yes. Which is it's experience in its own right, but it's,
and was fairly good at it too. Yeah.
Weird that Jeremy's taking the Ben Solak defense.
Wow.
Just kidding.
How dare you? Ben, I love you, but chill, dude. Just chill.
Chile. All right.
I don't want this to make me Ryan Leaf in this analogy.
Not posting my address, bro.
Wow.
We've gotten way too insular here. No one even knows what we're talking about.
You do have posted a P.O. box, though.
True.
For people to send us stuff.
Exclamation point mailbag.
So, I mean, you're already a little bit. Yeah,
Sorry.
on Twitch. Yeah. Like, so, I mean, I guess you're already like half a step ahead of Solak in that regard, I suppose. Or Leaf, or however I'm supposed to. You know what? I'm going to bail on this because I'm not even sure.
Let's do that.
It's a good idea.
But I think I'm doing this because I think we've hit the end of the podcast.
Yeah, the only thing we didn't mention is
Sean Hamilton.
Yeah, which I don't know if there's really that much to mention. I mean, obviously it's a natural progression to promote your assistant linebackers coach to linebackers coach, and I think maybe that brings the other good point about the good, I would say, optics of hiring or promoting Kelvin Sheppard is you're churning out a coaching factory now, right? If you want to come to Detroit, we're going to develop you, we're going to promote you, and then you're going to go get a head coaching job somewhere. Like, the optics of all that is good. Of course, it didn't work out that way on the offensive side of the ball this year, this coaching cycle, but it is good business to continually promote from within. And so that is one thing that I don't think should be overlooked about the Sheppard hire.
All right, let's get out of here. What do we have coming this week? We're going to have scraps coming for you this week. We've got a Pride of Detroit Direct exclusive first bite.
And a double Pride of Detroit Directive exclusive this week because it's the end of the month, which means the midweek mailbag is a Pride of Detroit Direct exclusive, which is always a good reminder. If you're not a Pride of Detroit Direct subscriber, go to pridedetroit.com/subscribe. Support us in a whole new, brand different way, and we're going to have a ton of off-season content over there that's just exclusive to the people over there. So if you want to ask us questions that we're going to answer, have direct email linked to me, pridedetroit.com/subscribe.
That's right. And for the rest of us, anything else coming up that we need to talk about? I think we've got everything here.
0 NFL Combine coverage. Sorry. It apparently started today.
Jeremy. We're also I was about to say Jeremy.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Jeremy is clearly not on the road heading down to.
I'm sorry. Senior Bowl, not NFL Combine. Sorry.
I was like, whoa.
Senior Bowl is this week. We're not doing that. I actually am going to go down to the NFL Combine this year.
Oh, good.
But no.
We couldn't get Jeremy interested in the Shrine Bowl. I'm sorry.
Oh, we're gonna do a 24-hour live stream about the Pro Bowl this week. So Pro Bowl games Thursday night,
clip it.
Sunday night.
Did Amon-Ra St. Brown make a mistake stepping out of the Pro Bowl, letting in Malik Neighbors?
He's already climbed to the top of Pro Bowl stardom. Won best catch, had 100 yards in last year's flag football game. What
right.
other mountains are there to conquer in Orlando, Florida?
Next
Space
up in
Mountain.
the most useless Lions trivia.
I looked up Pro Bowl stats today. That's how my offseason is going.
Oh yeah, that's kind of like your job though. That part of your job not great.
I don't think Pro Bowl stats should be part of anyone's job description.
I didn't even
Aw.
realize they kept Pro Bowl stats.
It was not easy to find.
And I know about the history of the playoff bowl, the NFL's early third place game that they used to have in the 60s.
Is it easier to find the history of the MVP than it is to find Pro Bowl stats?
Yes.
Well,
And
I mean,
rightfully
you just-
so.
Yeah, it's one line. It's one line. Who was named the MVP and got slimed? Who was it?
Trubisky.
It's always Trubisky. All right, next week, we'll see you on the POD cast. See you, Starside.
Recording stopped.
God, I am so sorry once again about the Robbie Chosen thing. God damn it.
No,
God damn it. But again,
When you said Robbie Anderson, I'm like, is that someone different? I forgot. Like, now it's all coming back to me. That's Robbie Chosen Anderson.
see, I remember him mostly as Robbie Anderson because I didn't realize he changed his name, and that's why
Right.
I looked and I saw
Same.
like Robbie Chosen. This must be someone different.
Right. And when you go back to, like, if you're using Pro Football Reference and you go back to the 2017 Jets, it's listed as Robbie Chosen, even though at the time he was Robbie Anderson.
Yeah. Even it's like that on PFF too. So I think like everybody like they're not gonna have like separate links.
Is this a Panda's friend incident? Is that what we're having here?
This is a it's a Ron Artest.
Yeah. Ron
Meta World
Artest, Meta World Peace, the Panda's friend.
We got an interesting follow during that segment. Someone named Depressed Titans fan.
Welcome.
My apologies. Who's the Titans head coach now? Did they
It's
get a
still,
new one?
They
The-
kept their coach.
Dude.
So I see his face. It's
Bengals
Ryan
offensive coordinator.
Callahan, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because he got his dad, Bill, to come back and coach the offensive line.
Second Nepo baby to show up on the show today.
Dang, it's a bad day to be a Nepo baby. It's a bad day to be who's ever in charge of recording Pro Bowl stats. Like,
A bad day to be Ben Solak.
We're not going to talk about the headline, are we? When we're talking about Nepo babies? The headline that I was
Wait, I thought
complaining
we were
about this
talking
morning
about
that
Jordan
was
Schultz.
extremely unprofessional. I wasn't. I thought we were talking about the Packers defensive coordinator. Or no, what is his job title? Did he get?
wait, you're talking about the Bears offensive coordinator that got hired, right? Is
You're
who
right.
the
I don't know
Packers
why I
were?
said Packers. I do know why I
because
said
it was a Packers site who wrote about it.
Yes. Yes. Bears offensive coordinator. What's his name?
Declan.
Yeah.
Declan Doyle.
Declan Doyle.
Declan Doyle.
Yeah.
There was,
Wait, is he a Nepo baby?
Yes. His
A
dad.
Jace?
Wait, Yeah. Go
His
on.
dad made headlines for very bad reasons, and someone decided to frame the hire of Declan Doyle with the sins of his father in the headline, which was interesting.
His father is Chris Doyle.
Strength and conditioning coach from Iowa who had some racist things to say.
Okay, but he's from Iowa, so I mean, you're cheating yourself.
And then he got hired to the NFL level, and then all of that stuff went public, or there was just a public outcry, and they're like, "Oh, oops." But I don't know. Anyways,
Did you read that comment, Jeremy?
we don't have any other alerts to talk through, so we can hang out here for a little bit and discuss whatever you want to talk about, chat, except for mock drafts. It's not going to happen. So, I mean, how am I supposed to do a mock draft when I can name maybe like 4 draft eligible players?
Very carefully.
Are any of those 4 players Shador Sanders?
Okay,
Or
fine.
did it just go to 5?
Speaking of the Shrine Bowl, making news that he decided not to participate in practices of the Shrine Bowl.
And, yeah, I saw that, and then like I saw
standard.
I saw that there were exclusive rules this year saying you can't come if you're not going to participate in everything. And then he just is like, no, I'm not. No, I'll be here.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing it.
I guess that this happened like kind of spontaneously because he had met with teams at the Shrine Bowl, and then like suddenly they're like, hey, don't, like, you know, we don't want you practicing out there or something. So I mean, I don't know. I thought it pretty normal, but like as you said, there might have been rules that changed.
I think the best way to approach the draft from now on as a Lions fan is to identify Dan Campbell dudes and just make that list and be like, well,
hope they're around.
That's
at
a
the end
Dan
of the
Campbell
first round.
dude, and he should be around at the end of the first round. He might go to Lions. Like, don't bother with needs. Don't bother with positional value. Just find a dude that you think,
Find a guy
team
who's gonna be a
captain,
dude.
lives football.
Yeah, don't do that, because then you will draft Josh Pascal.
So not Savanaya.
But I'm just saying, if you're trying to predict what the Lions do,
yeah,
that's what you do.
100%. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean to Josh Pascal.
That kind of sounded like you were.
Well, no, he is.
You
who
weren't
he is.
trying to, but you were.
Okay, well, the implication wasn't that he was. The implication was that when you lean on being a team captain, there's some other things you should probably consider.
we have a list cast request. Top 5 favorite things about the offseason. You know what?
The end, the day before the end, the day before the end, the day before that, the day before that.
I genuinely like the nights of the NFL draft. They're very fun. There is a bit of happiness having my Sundays back to do what I want. Let me think.
The weather's a good one.
Yes and no, because it gets up to 120 degrees in my end of the valley. But oh, that's where he takes off the headphones. Yeah, weather definitely. Oh, okay, something serious actually. Let's see what else.
I'll say this. I enjoy the spectacle of the NFL draft. It's not fun to cover.
No.
It sucks to cover.
And that's why I like doing the stream, because I want to at least enjoy the spectacle.
Yeah.
Let's see. Catching up on shows.
Can I have to wait for Ryan to come back, but I'm going to drop a bomb about what show I just started.
Okay, that's interesting. I had the most friends stab me in the face kind of moment at work the other day, because he started to come up to me asking me about a show, and he's like, wait a minute, you don't watch regular shows. You're always watching weird shows. I'm like, try me. And it was Shogun. He wanted to ask me about Shogun. I was like, of course I've seen I'm halfway through Shogun. Like, you know. But anyway, so you were waiting for Ryan to come back because you knew, though, I would be weird and probably haven't seen whatever you're about to talk about.
It's not a weird show. It's just out of character for me that I started and have almost already finished. It's not Severance. I love Severance. Are you okay, Ryan? What's happening?
There's like the wind is really strong right now, so like I hear like banging, and I like went to go look out the window to see what it was. Oh no, it wasn't. It's not branches. It's like metal.
Oh jeez.
But
would you believe, Ryan?
Would I believe
that I have started, am at least a little bit enjoying, and have almost binged entirely the first season of Penguin. The Penguin.
I find that shocking.
I figured it was going to be.
Like 10 out of 10 shocking. With how many jokes you make about how long the Batman is.
The illogical thing of it all is that if it's an hour TV show, doesn't bother me. If it's
for sure.
8 episodes of 1 hour in 1 hour installments, doesn't bother me. 3 hours in one sitting, I can't do.
All right, it's not really a superhero show though. Like
That's why I think I'm enjoying it. Is like
but,
there are
this is
no.
always the key with a lot of these things. Is like, oh yeah, it's like, ooh, it's a superhero show. I was like, yeah, but it's a gangster show.
It's just a mob thing, and that also generally doesn't appeal to me because to me it's generally the same kind of stories of just like power struggles, and generally speaking, that doesn't interest me that much.
Yeah, but the family dynamics is insane.
And the acting is fantastic. And I don't remember the woman's name, but she does an amazing job. She steals every scene she's in. So I'm enjoying that aspect of it.
Hell yeah.
The storytelling, the storyline, it's okay. It's not blowing me away, but the acting, Kristen Milioti, she's phenomenal. And it was also, I enjoyed seeing that guy from House of Cards playing the role he just plays in everything, which is like the guy behind the scenes that's doing the dirty work. Who's being the smart guy that talks very authoritarianly. Anyways.
I need to get my Max subscription back because I did start watching at work because we have a streaming TV. It just kind of came on after someone had put on Knives Out and just started auto-playing, but it started auto-playing Murder on the Orient Express.
Mm-hmm.
I realized I had never seen any of these new like Agatha Christie movies with what's his name playing Hercule Poirot? Kenneth Branagh. Like, so there's definitely a lot of movies I need to catch up on.
Not Kevin Spacey. That's not who I'm talking about.
Kevin Spacey.
Michael Kelly is who I'm talking about.
I don't know if I need to watch Severance or not.
I enjoyed the first season of a lot. I'm waiting to resubscribe to Apple Plus until more episodes are out for the second season.
Yeah, I think that's... I don't even have Apple Plus, but...
Apple TV.
Apple TV, whatever.
Apple... No, it is, isn't it? It was an Apple TV Plus.
It's Apple TV Plus.
Pretty sure it's Apple TV, right?
No, Apple TV is
it's
a
TV
device.
Plus because I happen to know this because like I did have Apple TV
so it's
Plus for the season pass of MLS.
It's definitely it's Apple TV Plus, but like it's definitely like Apple TV Plus, not Apple Plus.
Whatever. You were wrong too. You were both wrong.
What?
Okay.
Wait, what? No, hold
fine with
on.
that.
Don't lump me in with him here. God damn it! Wins for me are rare enough.
Well, that's what happens when you predict a tie every week.
I don't care about that one. Though. I'll write about that one day. And that one tie win will count for like 50.
Yeah, no. Whenever Severance is like at least halfway through their next season, I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to binge the second season of the Jason Segel Harrison Ford show. What's that one called?
That show is so mid.
Oh, people! The first season I kind of agree with you. People say the second season took it to another level.
It took it to another level of a show that still doesn't know what it is.
Ooh, I like the heat coming off you right now. Shrinking.
I'm not gonna lie, but I saw Colton Pouncey's tweet about it, and I was like, dude, I just don't see the same. We're not watching the same show.
Interesting.
I think it got. I don't want like saying a show got worse. I don't want to say that, but I still don't think it knows where it needs to be in terms of tone. Like I don't know if that show understands. I don't think it understands a lot of things about itself.
Oh, I can kind of see what you're saying.
And I think it gets ratcheted up to another degree. I think that the first season was a lot more dramatic.
It gets super silly at times though.
Yeah, well, if you thought last season got silly, it gets sillier this season. And then like a silly moment happens, and then the very next scene is the most like it's supposed to be the most emotional, gut-wrenching.
It's interesting you say this because I actually view if they can pull it off, if it can walk the line and do both successfully, that's like peak TV, because that's something that I would say of
Yeah.
BoJack Horseman.
What's this?
Sure.
BoJack
Are we talking about Severance still, or
we're talking about Shrinking, which
Shrinking.
like just the ability to be like almost slapsticky humor, like just low level silliness, but then delivering like devastating blows as a drama. There are not a lot of shows that even try to do that. It's not easy, and sometimes I don't think it worked for BoJack, but in general I think it did.
I think it comes down to writing.
Yeah.
Like you have you have the horses, like you have Jason Segel, you have Harrison Ford, you have, I mean, there's a ton of different like high profile name actors in that show. But
No, see, I wouldn't throw Scrubs in that category because to me, I don't think they pulled off the drama well enough. Scrubs to me was just like a run-of-the-mill hospital drama that was creative when it came to humor. To me, the drama didn't hit.
yeah. That's how I kind of feel about the entire show, though. Like, I feel like nothing ends up hitting when like you're just so all over the place.
Yeah.
Watch season 2. You need to get
Barry
Apple TV
Barry did it
Plus.
well. Barry, there might not be a better
Barry
example
nailed
than
it.
Barry.
Barry nailed it, but Barry nailed it in the same way that BoJack Horseman nailed it, right? Like, I think it knew when to take the tone there.
Yeah. And you're just saying it felt random or imbalanced or what with Shrinking?
I want you to watch the second season. I
Okay.
want you to.
Okay.
I just want to know what you think about
Yeah,
it.
I don't feel you're far off from the first season. So I wonder if it just pulls to both extremes in the second season where extra slapsticky, extra punch you in the gut.
But that's where that's why I gave the second season a shot. Is because I was like, it's kind of there, but I'm gonna give it a second season to see if it can figure itself out.
Yeah. Joe P on YouTube says The Pit on Max is pretty good. So as I'm watching The Penguin, all I'm getting is commercials for The Pit, which is
I don't know what that is.
It's some hospital drama. And I'll tell you what, like you know when you get like a repeat commercial on any streaming service and it just makes you hate that thing before you even give it a shot?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at with The Pit. So convince me, Joe, that I'm wrong. And I'm coming in with the full acknowledgement that I'm being petty and stupid. But in general, I am not drawn to hospital dramas. Anyways, but could be wrong.
like the only hospital drama I ever enjoyed it was House.
Yeah.
And technically, that's not even.
I got
that's a
issues with House,
hospital
but
drama.
I understand the
I know-
I understand the appeal.
I think it's not even like that. Okay, let me clarify that. It's not that I enjoyed it. That was my So before I moved back to Toledo, I suffered really bad insomnia living in Georgia, and USA. It was always like on at night, nonstop, either marathons of Law and Order SVU, which is how I got to know Law and Order very well, or rarely it was House on TNT. So I got to know both those shows fairly well.
I'm not hating on House. I have this completely falsified notion that that show garnered in a level of snark and smugness that I hate right now.
Sure, I don't think they were alone in that, and I don't think
they
this
weren't at
new
all.
Version
But
of snark is like because of them. I think it has a lot more to do with fucking Marvel movies.
I was gonna say, like, I almost blame House for Deadpool, which I understand Deadpool predated House when it comes to comics.
I think you just picked out the wrong villain. In
The
this
wrong
scenario.
avatar. I understand.
Yeah.
But I just, for some reason, I point
It's
all of
Hugh
my
Laurie.
ire at Hugh
Laurie
Laurie.
just carries that fucking show like a motherfucker, man. Like,
I typically don't like hospital dramas. It's kind of like ER, but doesn't stray away from adult topics, aka kind of gory swearing. Ooh, the gory stuff is probably going to turn me away for good because I don't like that stuff.
yeah, no.
I'm a coward.
I'm just gonna watch a shitload of anime this offseason.
I've definitely, so I've also watched a couple movies that were on the bucket list. I had never seen A Few Good Men until like last week.
Really?
I haven't seen it either.
Fantastic.
Oh, wow.
I just know the clips, you know.
Right.
Fucking tastic.
It's a tour de force of acting, first of all. Like, just
Scenery just chewed the fuck up across the board.
Again, like, there isn't anything that blows me away about the storyline or anything like that. There's not any crazy twists, but it's just so well acted that I enjoyed it from front to back.
Do you want a movie that is like that? That is like, it won't blow you away, but the acting in it is so good. Like, it's really hard to pin down anything. Like, you want to see acting just completely knocked out of the park? You want another movie like that?
Sure.
Let me ask you, are you okay with Westerns?
Maybe. I
don't know if you've probably seen it. If you haven't, you have to watch Tombstone.
I have not seen it.
Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Sam Elliott's in it. Bill Paxton shows up. He's so fucking good. Like,
it's another movie I haven't seen.
It is like the clips of Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday doing the "I'm your Huckleberry" are all over the internet. But it is, or oh God, was it Thomas Hayden Church, the well bye.
What is Tombstone Rashomon?
No, just Tombstone from 1993. Like, that is a massive amount of just dudes acting hard as fuck.
Interesting.
Top 5 Western. That's tough, Darth Tater, because, like, man, like, I'd put like maybe 2 or 3 Sergio Leones above it, and then I have to put Unforgiven as like the top Western. And like the remake of 3:10 to Yuma with Russell Crowe and Christian Bale is so fucking good. Like, I believe you. It's up there for me. I would say Tombstone's a top 10 Western. I don't know if I would have it in my top 5. I'd probably go like Unforgiven, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West, The Outlaw Josie Wales is probably up there. Like, it's tough, man. I haven't even mentioned any like old like John Wayne's or something. Like, it's a long field. It's the only reason I'm not agreeing with you with top 5. But it is a Olympics of acting.
I've probably tried to watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly maybe 4 times, and this is more about me than the movie. Fallen asleep in the first hour every single time.
You gotta start with one of the earlier Leones. Like,
it's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, I know, but
tough.
like, it's the toughest one. I think I find the first 2 that he did before that with Clint Eastwood. It's like Fistful of Dollars, and especially for a few dollars more. Those are like the more action-y movies I find. You will absolutely fall. I think his best movie is Once Upon a Time in the West, but you will fall asleep during Once Upon a Time in the West.
It's more like I can't start a movie after 9 p.m. or I'm done. Like, I'm just not going to fix it. Yeah. I'm an old man. And so I think that's been the problem. It's not that there's like dialogue heavy stuff that doesn't bother me. That doesn't put me to sleep. I
just realized I still haven't seen Killers of the Flower Moon, and I probably should fix
that. I'm going to fix the pit of hunger I have in my stomach.
Hell yeah.
You've been waiting for that segue for the past 5 minutes.
I have, but
what do we get?
I do know that it was Tombstone that led Joel Schumacher to cast Val Kilmer in Batman Forever, which is super ironic considering if he had such a great acting performance to stick him in a suit that he can't move in or act in.
I just love Kurt Russell. I love the acting career of Kurt Russell, and I feel like on one hand it's a big miss that he wasn't Han Solo, but the other hand, like, not sinking him into Star Wars was probably the best thing as far as like getting him in some just insane psycho stuff through the years.
Yeah, but then also playing Herb Brooks.
Who's that? What's that?
In Miracle.
Oh. So what app are you pulling up to order from?
Man, don't shame me. Why are you trying to shame me on stream about what I'm going to order?
I'm not. I'm curious. No judgment. As the biggest stand for the Taco Bell app, how could I possibly judge you? I should say, as the former biggest stan, since now the box that I once adored is no longer $5 but $7.
They said the price of eggs would go down.
I just went to the store and I saw like a dozen for like $10.
It's like $7 for an 18. We've gotten to a point where egg whites are cheaper, which is wild.
I'm not trying to do this.
I
I'm
know,
sorry.
I know. I'm not. I know.
Quit playing into it.
I'm sorry. So where are you ordering from? Don't dodge the question. What are you looking at right now? You Uber Eatsing it?
I have to at this point.
I have chickpeas tonight.
Ooh.
Looks like Chris is having rum for dinner tonight.
Chickpeas, rum, and naan. Yes. This is, oh, yeah, let me get this up here. This is,
Rum infused chickpeas? I bet you could soak them in rum and it'd be delicious.
Oh, yeah. Maybe. Here, let me see. Can I get this up close? Yes, I can. The focus is out, but this is a lion's glass. Let me see. Can I turn on
What does the word
autofocus?
Lux mean, anyways? Like, why is it build your own Lux cravings box? What is
Deluxe,
Lux?
Jeremy.
Why? We're just shortening deluxe to Lux now? Is that
Yes.
a thing?
Yes.
Since when?
Since Taco Bell.
So Taco Bell has invented the word Lux
Yes.
as a shortened version of deluxe.
Yes.
I don't want Taco Bell, but I don't have any choices.
waiting for the button that question in that sentence.
Like I don't want it. I don't need it. I had some of the best Italian food of my life yesterday. I went to an Italian restaurant called
Shout 'em out.
Sam's Italian Restaurant. Established in 1973, this place doesn't look like it has been touched inside since 1973.
Olive Garden.
That's like Inky's in Toledo. Inky's still has like the checker tablecloth.
I also love that the name is Sam. It's not like, I'm not saying there can't be an Italian named Sam, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like
It's not really an Italian name.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not Mario. I get it. However,
Or Luigi.
or Tony's.
Tony,
I
right,
get
Or
it.
Luigi.
Or Waluigi.
I'm specifically talking about a different Luigi.
The thing is that it is in the middle of a cornfield.
I'm pulling up
Even
pictures.
less Italian.
It's witness protection Italian.
You might be onto something there.
Maybe that is Italian.
That is.
Well, it's
That's what happens.
What's your name? Sam.
It's the first. Yeah, no last name.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna
Just
say
Sam's.
this is what happened to Ray Liotta after Goodfellas. He's like, I really miss it. I'm just gonna open an Italian joint. It's like, all right, but you're
Is this
called
on
Sam.
Grand Blanc? Grand Blanc?
Yeah, it is in Grand Blanc, but like it's closer to like Swartz Creek, which it's farmland out there. And it was the first time I've ever ordered, and maybe this is just me being naive, but it's the first time I've ever ordered chicken parm, and it was in 2 different dishes.
Oh.
What do you mean 2 different? Oh,
Like the chicken and the cheese and the marinade was all like baked in a
it was
in a
it was
dish.
served open faced to you. Yeah.
And then my little bowl
that's common,
of spaghetti. And I was like, this is delicious. But they had these things called Samaritos. No, dude, I'm telling you, want to come to Sam's Italian restaurant.
Wait, what is a Samarito? What is a Samarito?
The only way I can describe it, Chris, is that it's a pillow of heaven. And they have a dessert called a Cinerito.
No,
which
what
are
is a
just
is it like a piata?
I'll set here. Sam's Italian restaurant.
Our special creation using our own dough, fried, seasoned, and served with a side of our homemade
these are
meat
like
sauce.
Italian hush puppies or something.
I'm saying that for the value, you cannot get more food than you can with an order of Samaritos. It's $7.50. I ate
Good
more.
Lord, I am looking at the pictures now. Good
Do you see it?
I see them. Yeah.
Okay. They're almost kind of like this isn't doing it any justice because it's one of my most favorite things I've eaten recently. But it's
Maybe
almost like
Stromboli's on Monday.
it's almost like a pizza roll, but it's a lot more airy and fluffy.
Oh, they're probably like.
and
I was gonna say they're probably like mini Strombolis. Then that's probably what it is.
This is the Cinneritos, which is
the Cinneritos are Krenak.
the dessert
Okay,
version.
tell you what. When I come, if I come back home again at some point, you're coming down to Toledo for Kengo, and I'm driving back up to you to Detroit for Sam's.
Is there anything in it?
No, nothing.
Okay, so this is
dough?
they look like Hot Pockets. I'm sorry, they look like Totino's rolls. They look like Totino's rolls, but there's nothing in it. It's just dough.
Yeah, it's
Seasoned
just dough, but it's not like you bite into it and they're airy, right?
Yeah.
So they're puffy, but there's nothing inside it.
Okay.
And the
What are
Cinneritos,
these? Oh, deep fried mushrooms. Okay.
Oh my god.
yeah, see like that. If you go back a couple, and I know the stream is ahead or way behind, but like in one of those dishes was the chicken parm, and the cool thing about the chicken parm, it wasn't breaded either, which
Yeah.
is something
Yeah,
that like I
that's this one.
like, but then I also don't like.
Chicken
Yeah, I don't
parm is
like
grilled seasoned split breast? Never. Oh,
Goofa,
yeah.
Kengo is lights out as a chef. Like my dad treated me to his omakase for my birthday. Alex Reno will vouch for it because he came down for the omakase. First off, it was cheap. Like out here, an omakase in LA is like 3 digits. I think we paid like 75 a head. And he had some just I think I have a picture of it still of like the wagyu he served as part of the omakase. It's amazing.
That sounds great. I'm getting McDonald's for dinner.
No.
I'm trying to avoid doing that again. That's the only
Why
reason I'm not
McDonald's over Taco Bell? That's worse in my opinion. Especially
going.
those
Probably good
traders.
deals in the apps.
There's no more $1 breakfast sandwiches.
No, dude, I get it. I don't want to be doing this.
You know what's got me? You know what's got
When's the
me?
last time you got in a chicken finger
hold on.
pita?
You know what's actually got me looking at hockey scores again, Jeremy?
What's that? Oh, Wingstop? Is there some Wingstop deal?
No. Wingstop would be nice, but no, the McDonald's apps around here. If the Ducks win, the next day is $2 sausage and egg McGriddles.
See, I can get that for $2 at any time.
Wow.
I don't have to
Maybe
wait
I'll-
for the crappy hockey team to win every 5th game. I don't know if the
I
Ducks
was going to
are good
say
this year
that the
or not.
Ducks aren't good, are they?
I don't know.
They are
They had a moment.
46 points. Okay. Yeah, bottom of the West.
Karen, I totally agree. It's the worst thing about this. We're going from Pillows of Heaven to McDonald's, which is just. But I came home last night because that's where I watched the Commanders-Eagles game. And I got home and I said, I'm not eating until probably 3 p.m. tomorrow. And I'm only allowed to go to Sam's once per season. So like I can't go back there until springtime.
What? Why?
I mean, I'll go with you, but I can't go until like April.
Why? Why hold yourself back from that enjoyment? You don't have make it 2.
All right, I'll make an exception if you guys are going.
Let's go. All right. Is it time to go? I think it's time to go.
I'm fading, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's get out of here.
Him talking about food now makes me want to go cook.
I'm also incredibly hungry, but I meal prepped, so I have to stay disciplined and not open the Taco Bell app. I just
I'm being so responsible.
I just have so much time now that the season's over. You know, I don't know what to do with it.
Oh yeah, you guys like that, Lions fans? The beat guy for our website is bragging about how much free time he has now that the football team isn't playing football anymore.
Maybe I'm
Before we
glad
go,
that they
I want
lost.
to share one DM I have from a friend about a friend of the show, RJ Ochoa.
Flip it. RJ Ochoa.
What about RJ?
Yeah. I just have 2 texts from a friend from Fox. It says RJ Ochoa's timeline today is so funny. He's going to get bagged and tagged in the middle of the night by Jerry for the things he's saying.
No. Well, now I have to look.
All these. I mean,
He is
didn't
not
say
a fan of the Brian.
He didn't say anything that Troy Aikman hasn't already said into a microphone.
Yeah. Yeah, he's way down on the hit list for Jerry, to be sure.
I quote tweeted RJ today, and I'm just like, I'm enjoying the train wreck. Just the fact that
I think it was specifically like the thing that got me from RJ was the how much he was criticizing Stephen Jones apparently not knowing how air quotes work.
That was a funny moment too.
Like I think it was, what was the specific one? It was
he was talking about
drought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like our championship drought. Oh yeah. I guess 30 years isn't a lot. You're right. To not even be in a Super Bowl. But yeah, no, like I watched a lot of that Jerry Jones presser just because I had nothing else to do, and I was pretty much just waiting for the Aaron Glenn one. And
fuck.
The insecurity of Jerry Jones is outstanding.
It's
because
so
like
powerful.
every other sentence was, I know some of you people have been writing, I know people are saying this, I know this was in the paper, I know this was in the paper. It's just like he's reading all of the shit talking that's being happened about him, and he's trying to respond, and it's just coming off as so insecure and incredible, and it feels so good to be out of that hellhole of, oh my God, our organization is a mess from top to bottom.
Hell yeah.
I mean, that was what I said earlier in Slack today. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we firing the guy already? What's going on?
Right.
Like, come on.
All right, I got a couple alerts before we get out of here. Monkey81 with a 23-month subscribe to the channel. Big Z-Dubs 19-month subscribe to the channel. And our good friend Nick the Greek with 1 bit, which usually means I'm not going to read it out loud, but I'm going to say it anyways. Says the off-season fast food talk is either rusty or potentially you guys are getting older and fast food enthusiasm has been undermined by dread and consequences.
No, there's no good fast food right now. They're not fucking creative at all with this shit. Nothing good.
What's the last good? This is going to lead us down an entirely new road, and we're never going to end this podcast. But what is the last good new item in fast food?
I'll be honest. The Taco Bell nuggets are good.
I've heard.
I didn't mind them,
and I didn't mind them. Not going to ever try them.
I did. I don't think I've shared the story with Ryan, but I did go down a road with Ryan Day, not the Ohio State Ryan Day, the Jaguars writer Ryan Day, about he was so upset with the nuggets. He's like, this is like if Burger King had tacos. This is like if Wendy's had burritos. And I'm like, I don't know if you're doing a bit, but if you're not, I've got some very bad news for you. And I had to link them the Burger King tacos and the Wendy's breakfast burritos. I think that's it for me. It was like probably the last innovation was Taco Bell bringing back breakfast, and then none of the Taco Bells near me do that breakfast anymore.
I can't think of a single thing that has become a part of a rotation. Not that I eat a lot of fast food these days anyways, but like there's not a new signature item that is either stuck around that I eat a lot since the Crunchwrap. When's
the last time McDonald's added anything to their menu?
Well, they did the chicken Big Mac. Like I think that was their big thing.
Yeah, but that was limited.
And it sucked, by the way.
It wasn't even like it wasn't like McChickens on there. It was like, oh, we're just going to make a giant McNugget patty. I was going to say last thing maybe was like, I think the last thing I remember was the chicken sandwich craze off of Popeyes.
Yeah.
And everyone was trying to make like because McDonald's made their own like, knockoff Chick-fil-A. Everyone made their own knockoff Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm ordering McDonald's right now. I hate my life.
For some reason, my chat froze, so I had to pull it up because I'm like, are people just like way out on us talking about food anymore, or has no one talked in 10 minutes? Turns out,
we're down to 83 people. This is a 3-hour stream,
right?
150 people on YouTube.
The crazy calzone is a good answer. I never got it. I was literally going to get it one day, and it was gone like the day or two before.
But that's
Chris,
a
didn't you get
place.
the bat? Didn't you get the bat calzone?
I did get the bat calzone.
Is that not the crazy calzone? What was the crazy calzone?
It was, but it was just shaped like a bat.
Oh,
because it was for the Batman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like half pizza, half crazy calzone. I should try I need to get some pizza. I gotta try Little Caesar's stuffed crust at some point. Pizza Hut's gotten too expensive around here. Someone said it earlier. Pizza's supposed to be poor people food. Like, I don't understand why Pizza Hut's charging me more than $10 for any of their pizzas.
Oh, the Little Caesar muffins. That's a great call. Those things are delicious.
Actually,
The
you know
pizza
what I
muffin
found?
things?
Yeah.
Actually, I am glad for this. You know what's actually made its way around here where I live? And I know Gufo will know this. I don't know if it's up in Michigan, but Marco's Pizza. There is like Marco's Pizzas in the valley now.
Oh, fix.
I like Guido's pizza.
Is that a chain?
Guido's is very good.
Guido's is good.
I
Yeah,
don't think I've ever had that.
they do a Chicago style too, which you can't find everywhere. You know.
I miss Jets. I really miss Jets.
Oh boy, we got it. Now we have to stop. I'm
We have
literally
to
gonna
get
order
out here.
pizza if
We
we
have to
keep
get out
talking about it.
Oh,
I tried
yeah,
to
Mr. Meal Plan.
I'm about
I
to
know.
blow up my chickpea curry for fucking Marco.
Discipline. All right. I'm not sure when we're going to be live next. Like I said, midweek mailbag is going to be subscriber exclusive this week. That should come out either Wednesday or Thursday. I've got a PODD article coming out tomorrow that I have all up in here and 0 on my computer. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 12-ish hours. Although with
Tiki
a lot of
Tuesday
sleep in
tomorrow.
between. Tiki Tuesday over on twitch.tv/NoDecaf, NODEKAF.
We also need to fix the Discord link at some point because I want to get more
right.
people in the Tiki Bar Discord.
I worked at Little Caesars too. You mean Lord Goof? Way after that, though. Not way after that. A little bit after that. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. Go enjoy the Pro Bowl this week. That sounds fun.
Senior Bowl.
I'm getting Jimmy John's.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I had Jersey Mike's for lunch.
Dang.
See, Jersey Mike's got bought out though.
I know.
By who?
I'm still using up all my
By Danny
points.
DeVito?
No,
Unfortunately
that
not.
was a while back. They got bought up by some private equity people.
Yeah.
Still is like $11 for a sandwich around me, so I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah, I like their warm subs.
Those are very good and usually